look into how to fix it. I think it might be those like bottom things. If you go to the left, see all those like weird little things. No. Yeah, scroll up or not scroll up. Like what's that? Layout editor. There you go. Or studio mode. Studio mode. That's what you want. Click on that, and now you can edit one, and then there's one that's live.
Ooh, nice.
So there you go. That'll work. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Why are you doing that? Nobody wants your crap, Brett.
Why are you running?
Why are you running?
What are you running?
Yeah, you would just click transition and it would send that one live.
Nice.
Okay, we're live.
Hello, live.
Hello, live people. You need to grab the chat, Reese. I can't see nothing.
Yeah, no, I'm waiting for it to show up live on this side.
I'm waiting for you to show up live. You look dead!
It's there!
You!
Me! What did I do?
Wee! Hello, what's up, Popo Popo?
I love that name.
It's a good name. Click on it. See?
What's up, anime beast?
How are you today? Hello, everybody. Is everybody staying safe from the quarantine? Nobody dying?
You eating your vegetables?
You eating your veggies? You got to make sure you're eating your veggies. We got some good stuff going on today. We have, obviously, the PlayStation 5 announcement is happening. Oh, shut up, Brett. Nobody wants to hear you.
Or you come through on your phone?
Yeah. That was a little annoying. Nobody likes that.
Yeah. So how is everyone? How are you guys keeping? You keeping yourselves entertained while you're staying inside? If you are staying inside?
I wanna hear who's still working and who is working from home and who is unfortunately not working anymore.
Yeah, that's a big one at this point.
When gaming becomes socially acceptable for staying inside, it always was. It's the amount that we do it that's now socially acceptable.
Yes.
Nobody has a problem with anybody who plays video games to relax at night.
I could spend the entire day playing a video game and it's kind of okay right now.
No.
It still is.
You still have to work.
Weekends then.
Yeah. Hour until the event, yes, but we're going to be doing Hot News Live before that. We've got a bunch of articles to go through. We'll make sure all of that happens, and then we'll make sure that we're done before the 12 o'clock announcement for the PlayStation 5. Work from home, my wife's in healthcare. Oof. Hello, boys. What's up, Mythical Yeti Corn? How's it, Dookie Beast?
What's up, guys?
How you guys doing? Work from home, got a call 11:30, so gonna have to mute you guys soon.
All
Mute
good.
away, no worries. If people in anime watch anime, is it live action?
Oh snap. That's one to think on.
The one I heard that gave me pause was if you know The Simpsons, right?
Yeah.
You know they have Itchy and Scratchy, the cartoon?
Hmm?
It's done in the same art style as The Simpsons, which means it's real life graphic violence happening in a kid's cartoon.
Ah.
Right?
Well then.
Will they show the console or only the specs? We don't know. How do we know? We don't. We gotta wait for them to show up. So we're waiting. We're gonna make Hot News happen. Catlin, it's time for the existential question of the day, though.
How do I get out of it?
Just press the buttons. You have the buttons. Just activate those.
Okay.
Button time.
Did you press the button?
Yes.
Press it again.
Nothing's happening.
Ah! So go back to the scene. Technical difficulties. No, go click on the scene. Now try. No, okay, then you'll have to activate it in the source.
Oh well.
Now, oh, you hit it. That's why. No.
Why isn't it working?
What did you
Streamlabs.
do, Reese? Hold
I
on.
didn't do anything.
Oh my goodness, that's a lie.
Best.
Let me see it.
How'd the beasts turn out? Terribly. Terribly. We probably show them a little bit just now. People like Nick and Bob are loving our beautiful Squidward.
How do I get out of the edit?
You don't need to worry about that.
Everything Tech Pro. There's an announcement today. Hey, B.
Prophecy is true.
Pay attention to what you're doing, Reese. All right, did you deselect it?
Yes.
Okay, now can you put on the lower third? Do we have that?
No, I didn't get a chance.
The thing that's happening first, you didn't do. Okay, anyways, technical difficulties aside, let's go ahead and talk about the existential question of the day, which is, do you actually wash your hands? Or do your hands wash each other and you just stand there and watch?
Like a weirdo.
Like a weird, freaky, voyeuristic freak. Huh?
That's the T.
Which one is it? Reese, do you wash your hands or do your hands wash themselves?
My hands wash themselves while I stare up in the ceiling to give them privacy.
You don't watch?
I don't watch.
I watch the whole rigmarole.
The whole thing?
The whole going. Your calendar is off. No, you're just wrong. That is the best date. Nobody's given us a reason why that date exists. It's always going to be that date. We're not going to change it.
You guys got to figure it out.
Yes. I think you shouldn't overthink it, Slushy. That's not the point of existential questions. The whole point of existential questions is that we're supposed to think about them.
Exactly.
It's obvious. You wash your hands because they're hands. Come on, guys. No, your hands are washing each other.
Yeah.
I'm not washing them. My hands are washing themselves.
It's glorious.
And I have to watch.
Ugh.
It's gross.
In Soviet Russia, hands wash you. Exactly. Is that the Dreamcast game Seaman on the TV in the background?
No.
Indeed.
It's fish. We have fishies.
That one, his name's Steve. For 4 reasons. I can't keep track of him though. What Markula?
Catlin.
Hey, Neil.
Catlin, we're on the wrong scene.
I told you. Ah.
Transition. Ah! You're spoiling things.
I don't know how to do it.
How much time left for the event? So we've got 52 minutes until the event starts, but we've got plenty of hot news to get through. Set me on fire, Catlin.
If it works.
If it doesn't
We'll
work,
see.
it's your ass.
Hey!
On the job. Deport you. Ah! Burning fire. We got hot news for days. So we're going to be talking up until the PlayStation 5 announcement about all the hot news we got going on. Number one is that there is now a cheap way for you to get better overclocking potential out of your Ryzen chips thanks to the people over at Case King and DeBauer with some German engineering. So the way
Heck
this
yeah.
works is that if you pay attention to the way Ryzen 3000 looks, it has a chiplet design. As you can see here in this little thumbnail, there's chiplets here and there's chiplets here. And that means that all of the heat is on this side of the freaking CPU, and then this giant I/O die produces something like 5 watts, 15 watts maybe, whereas the rest of the chip is being heated from one side. So it needs to be cooled more appropriately, and that's exactly what DeBauer came up with, was a sliding mechanism to move water coolers over so that you actually get the cooler to be cooling the chiplets and not just the center of the IHS, which works if you have an Intel processor, but it doesn't work if you're working on a new AMD processor with the chiplets off to the side. So this is actually a really, really ingenious thing. It makes tons of sense that this would work, and it only costs about $30 to get better thermal headroom onto your Ryzen processors, and you could potentially have better overclocking headroom as well because of those lower temperatures. So DeBauer says that you could expect anywhere from like 4 to 6, but he's seen up to 9 degrees Celsius drop just by switching where the cooler is actively cooling based on the sliding rail. So
It seems like such a simple mod, but like so effective.
yeah, well, it's German engineering, so he spent the time making sure that it actually works properly. And yeah, so it comes with everything. He does an installation guide to show you exactly how this thing is going to work. But for $30, you get better cooling, which thereby could mean better performance on your Ryzen processors.
Could this potentially, if you're shifting it over, like interfere with certain RAM heights with certain coolers and stuff?
No, because you're shifting it down, I believe, based on the way that. Hold on. No, you would be shifting it over. Wait, which way do you shift it? Is it towards? Yeah, I think it's. No, yeah, it's down. shift
okay.
it down because it's
Sweet.
oriented 90 degrees. So you shift it down so it shouldn't interfere with any of your RAM.
Yeah, no, Dubauer's got his stuff down.
Yes. So it's 30 euros over on Case King, and you should be able to import that in case you want this. So for just $33, you can get better Ryzen overclocking potential and better Ryzen cooling.
Do you have to delid? No, it's literally just shifting where the center of the cooler is down on the processor to give you a better, like, actual heat source.
Yep, and it works
heat
for
dissipation.
AIOs or potentially a custom water cooling solution. So
nice.
Shows you how to do it, and it just shifts it over, so they're actually getting the contact where it properly needs to be.
I can dig that.
Yes.
Dubauer has some really creative methods.
Yes, it's good.
I dig it.
Catlin, you feel off today. You gotta get your head in the game, okay?
Busy with multitasking.
Brain focus. Okay, we got this. You could just press more on one side. That'd work. No, it wouldn't.
It's about shifting the entire thing.
The center of the cooler matters as well.
Yeah.
Does it also work for water cooling or air also? So it doesn't have one set up for air cooling as of yet, simply because every air cooler has their own proprietary installation method. So that's the difficulty, is that you can't actually design something that works on all air coolers as of yet. They haven't figured out a way to overcome that. So you would expect that maybe some air coolers would implement this strategy and be able to do it. But as of right now, it's mostly just... Ooh, we just got gifted subs over on Twitch. 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you so much, Halo. Woo! Thank you. Thank you so much for supporting us on Twitch, and anybody who's watching on YouTube, if you guys want to support us on Twitch with Twitch Prime subs, you could do that. It's much appreciated. Very much helps these streams to move forward. And if you want that, you click the link in the video description. Is Thermal Grizzly a good thermal paste? Some of them are regarded as the best.
Yeah.
So you have multiple tiers of Thermal Grizzly thermal paste, but they're all pretty freaking good. So I would be okay very easily recommending Thermal Grizzly. Long as it covers the die right, I think most coolers would be fine, not just the proper mount. It's not just about covering the die, it's making sure that the cooler itself, where it has the best thermal transfer, is over the thing that's producing the most heat. So even if you take a thermal gun to the center of the IHS, what you're going to see is that there are hot spots on the IHS. Stonks up, says level 2 slime. Oh yeah. Wish DeBauer's device would work with my monoblock, but then he would have to come up with a way to shift the VRAMs. Yeah, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. Yeah, as soon as you add layers of complexity, you can't as easily devise a simple solution for it. So trying to get something to work with all air coolers probably won't happen, because every air cooler on the face of the planet wants to come up with their own mounting mechanism, which is fair because they all need different variable mounting pressures
It's
to be
all
within
engineered
spec.
in-house and
Yeah.
stuff for a lot of them. So
Ace Take with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much, my friend. PS5 better be good. Well, we'll find out for sure. Come on, can't listen. But talking about the PlayStation 5, according to some sources, with PlayStation 5 haven't been revealed yet, that's happening in 46 minutes, some people are saying that they are more excited for this than any other console released ever. The most exciting hardware in 20 years.
dang.
And that's for developers who are also working with the brand new Xbox. So this could just be hype. This could be marketing crap. But it could also be that it's going to be pretty awesome. So some people are saying PS5 details will be finally made. My TLDR version, it's awesome. So we just have to wait. We're going to be watching it live here, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Don't go anywhere, or if you do have to go somewhere, be sure you're back by 12 p.m. Eastern, which is in 45 minutes. Thank you, everybody, for following us on Twitch. It means a lot. So PlayStation 5 announcements happening a little later today. But we got some announcements from AMD. Ryzen 9 CPUs are coming out for mobile. The 4900HS. Asus already leaked the crap out of this because they didn't pull it from their marketing details when AMD apparently didn't want to announce this previously. So it has a 4.3 gigahertz boost clock, 8 cores, 16 threads, 35 watts. AMD is really proud of this thing. They're saying it's probably going to be one of the, they have the non-S model, which is 45 watts at 4.4 gigahertz. They're saying that this is probably going to be one of the fastest mobile chips out there. So the 4900H and HS should be pretty good. Do you like tomatoes? No, Reese and I both hate tomatoes.
Disgusting.
We don't like them. The price on what, Virexium? Not sure what you're asking.
I think a lot of people are asking about the price of the Xbox and PS5, which
Nobody's announced pricing.
Yeah.
I doubt Sony is going to release pricing today.
No, I think Sony has been reactionary to the Xbox so far, so they're going to wait for Xbox to drop their price so that they can come up with a
Sony
price
hasn't been reactionary. They've been non-actionary.
Well, this
stream today
yes.
seems reactionary. They were proactive in coming out last year and saying, we'll have ray tracing, it'll be amazing, it'll have 8 cores, you won't even know which hit you. But we haven't had more specific details than that. But today's stream is supposed to be more, no, I'm asking if Xbox confirmed the price. No, that didn't happen at all. Over-the-road truck driver, still working here. Good to hear, Brian. Glad to hear that you're working. Thank you for making sure that the supply chain is not disrupted. Means a lot. Twitch Prime sub, Shadow's Revenge. Thank you so much. And we've got a hype train over on Twitch, which means the more you guys sub to us with Twitch Prime subs, or the more bits you give, you get an exclusive emote. So we're on a level 3 hype train right now.
Oh dang! Check that.
Oh, 5 bits from Mythical Yeti Cord. Hold on. Are we missing something? No. I'm just so confused why it's level 3 now. Anyways, I like turtles. Do you know what turtles smell like?
Catelyn and I saw turtles recently.
Really?
Yeah, in the little lake.
Did you adopt them and
No.
give them radioactive poisoning?
I wish.
And then we could have had teenagers who could fight?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what they smell like?
I don't.
Well, Intel might know what they smell like because Intel and Cornell University have developed a neuromorphic chip that has learned how to smell 10 hazardous chemicals. It's crazy.
It's weird to think of machines smelling things.
So it's based on Intel's Loihi neuromorphic chip, and the team designed an algorithm based on the brain's olfactory circuit. So when you smell something, it stimulates the olfactory cells in your nose. Those cells send signals to our brains, which then fire off into electrical pulses. The researchers were able to mimic that circuitry in the Loihi's silicon circuits.
That's actually really cool that they've done it.
Fit Gamer OCR with the Twitch Prime sub and
Oh.
Mythical Yeti Corn with 10 more bits. Thank you so much, my friends. Really appreciate it. So now PCs can smell you, and hopefully this will help some gamers eventually. We're talking later on down the line. Right now they're using it for realistic purposes like smelling hazardous chemicals, detecting those things so that they can make sure that everything, you know, you're not dying of carbon monoxide poisoning.
That's a good real world use. Like
Yes.
For
But a better real world use is making sure that gamers who are stuck in their house all the time don't smell like butthole.
Oh, yeah. No,
And then your PC warns you, yo dog, you starting to stank.
Go
Go
take a
wash
shower.
yourself.
Go take a shower.
Go wash
Do it.
yourself. Take a shower. I hope you don't get infected with the human malware and you stay safe. We're calling it coronavirus here because this is a live stream. Thank you, Halo. Much appreciated. I went grocery shopping this morning because I have a family of 5. I also have these 2 fools to take care of. So 7 people in my immediate family right now that I'm responsible for, which requires a lot of food to be given. So went shopping as soon as the store opened at 8 a.m. this morning, and holy crap, every parking spot was taken up. I go in there. Oh, another Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much. A lot like Jason. Much appreciated. Keep that hype train going. Every parking spot was taken up. So many people, half the carts were gone by the time I got in there at 8:05, and by the time I was done shopping around 8:30, because I had to get for my entire family, the lines were ridiculously long. I had to wait 25 minutes in line, which is insane. And if I don't have coronavirus before going in to the shopping to do grocery shopping, I certainly may have it after coming out, and that's not from touching anything. It's from freaking having to stand this close to people at a freaking grocery store because nobody's implementing social distancing when people have to squeeze by. So even if you're trying to make a wide line, people are coming in and out, getting real close to you. We got more subs coming in. We got Scrubby with a Twitch Prime sub being converted into a tier 1. Thank you so much. Why not do Walmart pickup? Because they don't have everything that we need. So there's a few things that we need for our son Emmett that can't be picked up at Walmart, that can only be picked up at the local grocery store. And I don't know if you've experienced Walmart pickup, at least the one in Gainesville that we go to. It's horrendous.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's bad. So they say, just let us know when you're on your way and you'll be able to pick it up. We'll drop it in your car as soon as we get there. We've done it probably 6 or 7 times, and every single time my wife's had to wait 30 to 40 minutes. So that means she'd be sitting in Walmart to get that done. And I can only imagine more people are doing Walmart pickup right now, so that'd be even more ruined. I'm Night Fury, Prime sub. Thank you so much. We just hit a level 4 hype train over on Twitch.
Yeah.
Let's go. Wait, the Walmart in Canada just drops it off to your house. That's not really what happens here. Walmart doesn't deliver for fresh groceries as far as I'm aware.
Dang.
So that's rough. I think the thing that pissed me off the most about grocery shopping this morning, though, this is completely unrelated to hot news, is just the fact that none of the cashiers are wearing masks or gloves. Jeff Galisi with the $5 super chat. The Xbox Series X concerns me on 2 points. The fins on the heatsink look like they can plug up easily with lint. Will it be easy to get to and clean? It looks like it might be based on what Austin Evans' video showed. Like, he inserted it into the thing. It looks like you actually just have to open the side and you can pull the whole thing out.
That's cool, at least.
That might not be the reality, and they just have it as some sort of pieced together demo. That is a concern. However, I think if you just like take an air duster and you blow the bottom while it's on, it should be able to fly up through the top. That could be possible. It does look like it might be more ergonomic for that.
I'm like thinking people who have it on their floor that's carpeted or something, it's gonna just blow straight up.
Yeah.
There, clog it up.
It is a little concerning, but at the same time, that it's the risk of every cooling system out there having fins that are close together.
That's fair.
Okay, going back to the grocery store, right? Freaking grocery store, none of the cashiers, none of the managers, nobody's wearing a mask, nobody's wearing gloves, nobody has hand sanitizer at their stations. So you figure this is just a shortage issue, right? They're not able to get their hands on it. Well, it turns out, talk to the lady at the grocery checkout, it's their policy that they're not allowed to wear it.
That's so dumb. That's what gets me.
They're not allowed to wear masks or gloves while handling everybody's stuff that people have touched, probably have coughed on. I know I picked a booger and wiped it off. So they're not protected from that. That was a joke, by the way. They're not protected by that because the corporate policy is they want to make sure that they're not inducing any more panic.
People are already panicking, protect
They don't
workers.
want the public face of their company to be that their workers are worried. They should be worried. Are you freaking kidding me? It's ridiculous. How in the world can you get away with making sure that the people who are responsible for handling everybody's groceries are unable to protect themselves from everybody's snot-nosed kids licking the freaking candy bars, everybody's grandma who has a cough not covering her mouth because she can't get there fast enough, and me picking up boogers and wiping on things. None of them are protected from it. And it's your freaking corporate policy in the middle of a global pandemic that they're not able to protect themselves. It's bullcrap. Publix, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Ashamed of yourself.
Your shelves are disgusting too, but you should be especially ashamed of yourself.
Facts.
Disgusting. Like, I feel bad for them. They're working hard. They're working hourly wages. If they don't go to work when they feel sick, they can infect other people. And the reason they go to work is because they can't afford to not work. And if they're part-time, they're probably not getting health insurance, which means that they're not able to actually go to the doctor to pay for them getting sick. So not only could they be infecting other people, which I'm not as worried about, I'm more worried about them getting infected. Okay, Jeff Galisi with another $5. He said, 2, is the internal SSD replaceable? If it is heavily used, won't it wear out? Most SSDs have a limit read-write cycles. I don't know, actually. I don't think that was a reveal, but that also is one of the benefits of having that proprietary card on the back. If you do start to notice some slowdown, you can, especially, let's say, 5 to 6 years after all of the wear and tear of reading and writing to your disk happens, which honestly won't happen as frequently on a console as it would on the PC. You just insert a proprietary card. Let's say they're 4 to 8 terabytes by the time the Xbox Series X's internal drives start wearing out. That's possible. But consider this, like with a game console, you're installing 1 to 5 games a month, right?
Yeah.
How often are you removing those? Not very often.
It's not like typical average everyday PC use where you're making new files and documents all the time.
Yeah, there's not a ton of daily hitting the drive. as far as reading the device, yes, but not as far as writing to it, having to wear it out like that. So I don't know. They didn't say whether or not it's removable. As far as I'm aware, it's possible that they could have. Did we get another Twitch Prime sub?
did.
Thank you so much. And we hit another level in the hype train. Scroll down.
Might have been.
Okay. Do you have Whole Foods? You can get deliveries through Prime now. If so, I will not support Whole Foods.
Really? Is that a bad thing?
Okay, so you want another post-dystopian, apocalyptic, and late-stage capitalism thing going on with Whole Foods? Whole Foods, owned by Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Amazon, one of the richest companies in the world. Yes, yes. Are we following? They said that the employees should donate their sick leave to other employees who actually need it.
What?
Instead of creating a new freaking sick leave policy during a global pandemic where people can just get unlimited time off, they're suggesting that the people who are healthy donate to the people who are sick.
That's disgusting.
An arbitrary thing. Like, it's not real. Sick leave's not a real thing, so it's not like you're giving out a resource. You're just handing out a policy. Obviously they lose money from it. I understand sick leave, but suggesting that people who are healthy now and might need it later donate it to the people who are sick now is absolute bullcrap.
Yeah, wow. That is honestly.
And that's not the only scummy thing Whole Foods has done over the years, but that's a pretty big one.
I hate Whole Foods now.
Ntrain1919, $10 donation, says, "Yo, why is Dory from Finding Nemo just vibing in the background? P.S. Be ashamed of shelves." I am ashamed of shelves. I mean, this is a great, glorious...
There's Dory.
Don't you want an aquarium in your house with a Squidward?
I do.
I do.
It makes sense.
Okay. You know that's how hospitals work globally. Are you talking about donating sick leave? It shouldn't be how they work in a pandemic. I understand it in an isolated incident. I understand having a sick leave policy that works generally. But what we're seeing is a global pandemic. You don't do what works generally for freaking...
Everyone is changing policies to actually work towards helping everyone in this because it's such an unprecedented thing. We haven't seen global shutdowns like this in the modern age. It just hasn't been a thing. Companies need to react fast and actually create workable policies for these companies. Otherwise, life is just going to shut down. Things need to change and rapidly.
Jeff Galise with another $5 says the quick resume feature dumps the game from the RAM to the SSD. This will use a lot of read-write RAM cycles. Okay, out of money now for super chats. It dumps it from the RAM to the SSD. Why would it do that if it's slower? Oh, I guess it makes sense.
It's for resume.
Wouldn't they want to keep it on the RAM?
I don't think they can they?
It depends on the game. It makes sense with the PCI Express being... That would incur more read and write cycles. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I hope it's replaceable. That would be great. And what we've seen from consoles up until now is that all drives are replaceable. Some of them, like Microsoft, are a little bit harder to work with in general because you have to have specific ones or else it doesn't recognize it. Whereas Sony just allows you to swap in and out. It doesn't matter which one you have. I don't have a problem with normal accruing paid time off and donating to your coworkers in a general basis. Yes. I'm not saying that's the fine. Issue. I'm saying in a global pandemic, if that's your response, you're a shitty company.
Agreed. That is just disgusting levels of corporate greed and corporate just being so out of touch with their employees.
Yeah. We can talk about GameStop afterwards. Let's get through a little bit more hot news. Our hype train's over. What level did we hit for the hype train?
I wasn't watching.
I think we hit level 4. Awesome. High five for the level 4 hype train over on Twitch. Let's go ahead and talk more about Intel. Their Cooper Lake Xeon CPUs, which were supposed to be something that could be up to 56 cores, be some flagship for them. They've announced that they're going to be cutting back on those to not be implemented in traditional 1 or 2 socket motherboards, and instead will only be rolled out in quad or octa socket motherboards. So this is only going to be for big streaming servers, or big servers rather, that can have multiple cores. They're not going to implement it in single and dual socket. This is because they said that they are ready to go ahead and go forward with 10 nanometers and they want to move on to that as fast as they possibly can. Whereas Cooper Lake, if they keep putting the Xeon on those, it's just going to slow it down somehow. I don't really think that's their issue, but that's the decision that they've made. Cooper Lake is not going to be available as they once said it would, just because they're trying to move forward on it.
Yeah.
And then we also got a die shot of Intel's Lakefield. So this is the Foveros-based 3D stacking chip. This is a die area of 82 millimeters squared. I'm not actually smart enough to break down a die shot for you, but that looks like a die shot that I've seen before.
It looks techy and cool.
Yes, so that's a die shot. You can wait till hot news comes out to check the source on this. But then we also have Renoir has a die shot as well.
Ooh,
Renoir
nice.
is the upcoming APUs that have Zen 2 CPUs along with the updated Vega GPUs. Die shots are just kind of cool to look at. These guys actually have a breakdown. So you got the core complexes, which is going to host all of the CPU stuff, Infinity Fabric memory controllers, SoC IO, and GCUs, and memory PHYs. Got all that going on.
Nice.
Yes. Then let's talk about TikTok, because they've been in the news lately because of some scammy things. Let's go ahead and talk about what's been coming out about their censorship. They were told, based on guidelines for their algorithm, that they need to depress anybody who is ugly or looks poor or doesn't promote a positive brand image for TikTok. So they won't be pushing them out to the algorithm. And this was found out through some investigative journalism showing that, yes, TikTok is indeed only making sure that attractive people are going to the forefront. And in case you can't see me in that bottom corner, I'm using air quotes there. So that's a little scummy as far as like having a corporate policy of only pretty people apply. So I can understand if it happened to default to that because people tend to engage with more attractive people on their TikToks. That would make sense, but that's not it's a weird, ugly people can make good content too. I think I make good content sometimes. Okay? So like ugly people can make good content too. All right? But TikTok hasn't responded to the news coming out about the fact that they are repressing ugly people, but they have responded with regards to some of their moderation techniques that they've been using, which is that they've only been using Chinese-based moderators so far. And so Chinese people are moderating content for the entire world and not doing very regional moderation. So they said that they're going to be correcting that, and they're going to start hiring moderators in general geographic locations where you would want one. So US-based moderators for US content or North American content, European-based moderators for European content. It would help to diversify some of the moderation and supposed to kind of remove the bit of hesitancy that people have with TikTok with regards to China's control over it, with it being connected to ByteDance, who's connected to the Chinese government. They're trying to alleviate some of that. I don't know if that's actually going to work, but there you go. Brett is a handsome boy. Thank you, my friend.
That's a weird way of going about this whole thing. Like, what kind of policy is that to implement, and how do you get that approved?
Easily, especially if you're a company based in China where you have a social ranking app for people. It's basically the Black Mirror episode of you give people a rating. It makes sense that you would downrate some ugly people.
Cheapest.
This is the dystopian future that we're going into. My future is not secure here. I am screwed moving forward.
No TikTok for us.
Yeah. So TikTok in a pretty bad place, under fire for questionable guidelines. Not very good. Samsung under fire for making some fire chips because they've begun mass production on its fastest smartphone storage ever, the EUFS 3.1 standard. This is slightly faster than their previous, which was the EUFS 3.0. It has the same sequential read at 2.1 gigabytes per second, but the write is 3 times faster, coming in at 1200 megabytes instead of the 410. And then you got random read and writes also being enhanced there. So Samsung, even in the midst of a pandemic, coming out with some super fast storage for their smartphones, eventually coming out. Yeah. And then there's also 1 billion Windows 10 devices. That's just a thing. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about YouTube and how it kind of affects everything that's going on with us. Obviously, Catlin, you can just switch over. Obviously, you guys know if you watch our hot news episodes, we tend to not say the word coronavirus just because it automatically gets us demonetized. Even saying the word virus has got us demonetized. So we switched from saying coronavirus over to saying Voldemort so that we can make sure that we make money. This is a money-making operation. We say coronavirus here on the live stream because you guys monetize us on the live stream through super chats, through your Twitch Prime donations, so we can feel more free financially to say it here. However, what YouTube has come out and said in the face of coronavirus and their employees having to work from home, having to protect themselves with social distancing, not necessarily going to be in the office as much, they will have their automated systems take over on basically everything. So right now, the only official thing that they've come out and said is that the automated system for community guideline infringements or basically anything that removes a video from their platform, they will not have as much human review based on that because they physically can't keep people in the offices to do this. And it would be very much a violation of some sort of privacy laws to have them do that from home, like weird proprietary algorithm nonsense going on there. So YouTube won't be manually reviewing it, which would mean that the algorithm and the robots are going to be taking down videos a lot more without them going back up after a manual human review. They haven't come out and said that they're doing this with the monetization, but it's possible that that would also happen because when we get demonetized, we can request an appeal for them to manually review that by a human, and that can determine whether or not we actually get monetized or not, which could impact the bottom line of a ton of creators. So if this starts hitting us, our bottom line could be hit quite heavily, and we could potentially start losing revenue. Even though we're able to work from home, we might not actually be able to be monetizing our videos anymore. So
scary thought, but that's the way things are going at this moment.
Yes.
Everyone kind of freaks out when we say coronavirus live, but it's an entirely different situation. So
yeah, it's rough. YouTube. I mean, it makes sense. I'm not necessarily upset with YouTube for this, even though it is going to severely impact certain creators, especially if the monetization thing happens. But some like community guideline strikes, if enough people report a certain video, it could be possible that the algorithm automatically reviews it to be reviewed later, and that could screw a lot of people over. And so, but YouTube's got to keep their employees safe. This makes sense. And one of the things... No, I don't have a good thought continuing on there. Google has also come out and said that it may take longer for Android apps to get approved through the Play Store just because, again, it has to go through humans and they're sending all of those people home.
It makes sense.
Yes, it does. So this is the coronavirus section. In case that's not clear, we got a lot of coronavirus news going on right now, trying to jam that into your brains. This is all roughly tech-based. We try to keep it around the tech companies. There's that. Tesla Model Y deliveries have started, so that's some big news after much anticipation. The crossover that they wanted to bring out, that's basically a bigger Model 3, it's now being delivered to people. However, in the wake of the coronavirus, Tesla has stayed open. Their Fremont factory has not really reduced its workload capacity whatsoever because Tesla, Elon Musk has appealed and said that they are an essential business. They need to make sure that they're producing. So they have corporate policies that are out there that are saying if you're sick, stay home, but nothing really telling the mass workforce to not come in, even though they're going to be tightly packed together and working on the cars. But that doesn't mean that the Alameda County Sheriff's Office necessarily agrees with them, because coming out yesterday, Alameda County Sheriff said Tesla is not an essential business as defined in the Alameda County Health Order. Tesla can maintain minimum basic operations per the Alameda County Health Order, but that they do need to indeed scale back their operations in order to comply with the shelter-in-place order that's going on in Fremont right now.
Yeah, I personally don't see how a car production facility is an essential service, especially during these kind of times.
Yeah.
For me, essential services are your gas for people to go.
But Teslas don't need gas, therefore they're fine.
Grocery stores and pharmacies and stuff like that. So for me, that's essential services. I don't see a car production line being essential right now.
Yeah. Oil prices are in the toilet. Nobody's buying Teslas, except for what they're trying to do is produce the Teslas that everybody's already ordered. The Model Y has tons of sales, and they're basically just trying to get all of those out. So I can see from Tesla's perspective why they would want to continue operations. And if you've been following Elon Musk on Twitter, he actually doesn't think the coronavirus is necessarily a big deal. He's advocating that people stop taking it so seriously. Not just the panic, but he's clarified in like replies to other people that he thinks that people are just too upset about a virus that kills only 3 to 4% of the population. It's not a big deal. And hospitalizes 20% of the population. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, that sounds like some bad
Thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub. So I see why Elon Musk is advocating that they should remain open, but this is one of the things that I'm concerned about. Tesla might have to shut down because of this, or they might need a government bailout in order to continue because their margins are razor thin as it is. They only had one profitable quarter, which was Q4 of 2020. They were in severe deficit before that, and this could potentially bring them back to that, even though they had a positive trajectory. So I can understand why Elon Musk would be fighting to keep Tesla open because it's what they need in order to actually continue going forward. But unfortunately, like that's the big thing about the coronavirus right now. In the global pandemic, like everybody's basically screwed. Hi, UFD Tech. What's up, Tim Tipton? How you doing? As I've seen, Tesla factories aren't that tightly packed with humans. Not in every spot, but also at the same time, like factories tend to have pretty rigorous safety standards, or as high quality personal protective equipment because they're dealing with paint, they're dealing with fumes. They need to make sure they're not breathing those in. So they have respirators. They have,
for the most part,
they have safety equipment for a lot of it. And I could see that Tesla would argue that they'll be fine because of those things. But it's not happening. So
it's a bit of a weird one.
Okay, we need to finish up because the PS5 announcement's in 18 minutes. So let's keep moving forward. Computex is not canceled, even though Taiwan is canceled. Taiwan has said that they are not accepting any more foreign visitors. Foreigners who are in their borders should probably leave. They're going into a mandatory 14-day quarantine. And Computex, which is like one of the world's biggest tech conferences, is still not canceled.
What are you doing?
Well, come on, Computex. The heck? Stop. Cancel yourselves. Nobody's going to you. Nobody's going to show up besides people who are local. What? Stop. Just cancel. Make live streams. Nobody wants this. Nobody's going.
I don't understand.
Even if coronavirus goes away, still nobody's going to show up because all of the economy has to recover.
Yeah, no. What are they doing?
Yeah, the Canada-US border is also closed. The only reason we're talking about this, we're a tech channel, is because Computex. Overwatch League has also announced that it's going to have an online-only spring schedule. They've had to cancel several matches because of the coronavirus concerns. Don't want people going on, so it's going to be an online-based thing. This DoorDash is temporarily reducing and waiving its commission fees for local restaurants to help to make sure that they're not profiting off of this and more people can get delivery food since they're not able to go out to restaurants as easily. Waymo is going dark. They're not allowing any personal ride passengers to happen with human drivers. They're only going to have their automated driving still take place in order to make sure nobody gets coronavirus. And Amazon, this is a huge one, is only receiving cleaning, medical, and essential supplies into their warehouse until April 5th. So in case you need something from Amazon that Amazon sells, you need to make sure that you order it now because they will not be restocking it. If it's in Amazon's warehouse right now, it's okay, but until April 5th, they're going to be prioritizing things like baby wipes and diapers and medical equipment such as respirator masks and cleaning supplies, making sure that anybody who needs something for the coronavirus will be okay, on top of like regular priorities such as video game things or your graphics card, or they're not going to restock those as of right now. They're not going to bring those into their warehouse. But if it's already in their warehouse, they're still going to sell it and they're going to receive shipments after they can probably get through some of their backlogs.
It makes sense. You know, they're focusing their priorities here,
yeah,
and actually getting people what they need instead of the luxuries in life.
Amazon also stopping non-essential orders too. That's not true as far as I've read. I haven't seen anywhere that they've said that they're canceling orders. I've placed plenty of orders in the past couple days for things that are not essential. I placed an order yesterday. It's being delivered today.
Yeah, I've got 2 things coming in today. So.
They're not canceling orders as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure that might be fake news or it's an upcoming announcement that might be happening. But
we'll have to see there.
Yeah. This one has nothing to do with coronavirus. I have no idea what's here. League of Legends Teamfight Tactics will be available on mobile tomorrow.
So you can stay home and play it on your phone.
Yes, which is cool. Yes, I like that.
We'll make it work.
Microsoft is closing all of its stores due to coronavirus. That's happening. And then Uber is canceling its carpool service to help flatten the curve. They can't shut down Uber because people still need to get from place to place, but they can make sure that people are going to be carpooling together in tight spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Yeah. So that's the coronavirus news. That's the gist of all of the hot news that we have today. Catlin, you can get rid of my screen. Yes. We've got that going on. We're waiting now for the PlayStation 5 announcement that will be happening in 14 minutes. We can go ahead and transition into more of a casual talk time instead of just going through the coronavirus news and all of that. What's the cheap way to get faster Ryzen? You'll just have to wait for the hot news video that goes out later today. But it's also, Der Bauer came out with a little thing that slides the coolers over so that it's actually on top of the chiplets instead of being in the middle where there's no heat being produced, over to the side where the chiplets are producing all the heat. Drops the temperatures, you can get better overclocking potential. $30.
Just sending a link quick.
Mario Madness, that's exactly what we're talking about. They're not canceling orders, they're canceling inbound shipments to their warehouse.
Yeah.
They're not canceling orders. If you have an order with Amazon right now for something that's in stock, they will still fulfill that. Amazon's not canceling their orders. How much more do you think that prices are going to go up? I think prices are going to fall. People can't afford to buy things.
Yeah.
Like who right now, besides people who are well off, are buying graphics cards? Are you buying a $100 to $200 graphics card for your PC if you're not certain of your financial future right now, which a lot of the US is not? I think the report came out yesterday that 18% of the US has either lost their job or lost hours at their job in the last 2 weeks. That's an insane amount. Who's buying a graphics card right now?
Yeah, I have friends who are like incredibly worried about this because they're losing hours, events are being canceled. So this is impacting a lot of people financially.
Yeah, even if you're not in a bad financial place right now, you're still holding off on major purchases to make sure that you're going to be okay in the long run. Some people might be buying, but anything that's available right now likely will go down in price just because nobody's going to be purchasing. I'm talking volume, I'm talking average person, I'm not talking wealthy people, I'm not talking about the exceptions. I'm talking about the day-to-day person who's rocking a 970 or a 1060. They're not upgrading right now. Yeah. They can make do. Everything's going to be fine. Or they'll switch over to GeForce Now for free for 90 days, $5 a month. Then you play on the latest hardware. That would make sense.
It's a good time to try it out now. So everyone's staying at home, chilling. Got to keep yourself busy for a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm personally not buying anything besides the bare essentials just to make sure that we're going to be okay, because advertising budgets are going to go down in the coming days because companies are going to close. They're going to shut down due to everything that's happening. They're not going to be advertising because one of the first things that gets cut in any budget is advertising, even though promoting yourself is how you get business. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's what's happening. So YouTube money is going to be pretty slim. We have to make sure that we go into emergency mode and make sure that everything's okay. So like as far as even doing regular based tech content, unless the companies are sending it to us, we're not going to be covering it because I just can't afford to buy things right now and put my company at risk, my family at risk, these people at risk. We have to make sure that everything's fine.
So everything's just going to be a little bit different for a while. I think everyone's going to have a new normal these next couple of months.
Yeah. When's the PS5 announcement? It's in 11 minutes.
Basically.
Yeah. We need to get audio. So we need to watch on your laptop.
Oh, sweet.
And I can pull up chat on mine.
Cool.
So we can do that.
I have the existential question third down.
Awesome. Well, let's go back to the existential question of the day while we have 10 minutes to wait for the PlayStation 5 announcement that's going to be happening live, which is nice. If you wash your hands, are you actually washing your hands, or are your hands washing each other and you're just watching? You're just staring at something that's a little intimate. Are you getting involved in something else that's happening? Are you just watching your hands wash each other? Is that what's happening? Answer. You can get rid of the lower third now. It's
I
good.
love it, though.
It is nice. Existential question of the day. Stonks, not stonks, what's going on? That's deep. You're right. It is. Just like your scrubbing should be deep to get that coronavirus off your hands. That's what should be going on. So we're waiting on Sony to go live with their announcement. In case you guys want to support us over on Twitch, you can go support. Just type !Twitch in the YouTube chat. You can go over there and watch that side, or you can just stay on YouTube if you want. But after we're done with the PlayStation announcement, we have a special little Twitch stream that we do afterwards. Yesterday, we made some interesting creations, very interesting creations. And today we've got another theme going on, so you can watch for that. But Catlin, you want to zoom in on our interesting creations?
Give me a sec.
No!
Yes.
Look at that. Reese made that guy, and then Catlin made this thing. The theme was pain, and now we have extra decorations for our set. All these people discovering hand washing this week is making me feel really bad about touching anything in the past. Oh, life is always disgusting. You just never had a killer virus that was coming for you or your family before. TD says, in South Africa, I'm showing all of the symptoms of coronavirus and not getting better while on flu medication. Can't get tested without proof of travel. I'm so sorry, TD. Thank you so much for your support. Your donation means a lot. And I'm sorry that that's what you have to go through right now. That sucks. Sucks.
Sounds like I missed something hectic.
He shows all of the symptoms of coronavirus, but can't get tested because he hasn't traveled. And with the fact that there's 116 cases in South Africa, and it's already been documented that it has community spread, why are they not testing?
They should
That's
be at
the
this
mistake
point,
that
yeah.
America made. And look at, like, we gained over 1,000 new cases since I left work yesterday. It's insane. Oh, 10 bits from Mythical Yeticorn. Where could I find the fish screensaver? Just go to YouTube, type fish 10 hours or aquarium 10 hours. You overreact for Corona time. You better overreact, or if you don't, you freaking lost, 3.5 million people by June if we do nothing. That's an insane amount. That's more than we've lost in wars in a few months.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is this the link?
No, it's on PlayStation blog. I don't know how they're doing it. Oh, we just got a tier 1 sub gifted from Draco and the Cops, giving it to Smutty Potty. Thank you so much for the gifted Twitch sub. It means a lot. 116 cases in South Africa means the real number is over 800 infected. It's probably worse than that, to be quite honest. How many was it on Sunday when the president announced everything? Like 8? There's less than 10 infected cases. It's not live yet.
No, will it just pop up?
I have no idea. How am I supposed to know, Reese?
I don't know.
What kind of question is that? How am I
thought there was
supposed to
a
know what's
link
going
already.
on? It's on YouTube too? Okay. Is it? Are they waiting on that?
Yeah, that's the link I got earlier.
Sony.
That's the one I was looking at just now. Engadget had it linked in their article. Let me pull it up and see.
Checking for the link right now.
Yeah, it's this one.
I can't donate BAT to you because you haven't verified your account yet. I have verified my account. I just haven't verified my payout method.
Why is this acting so
I have BAT sitting in my account with them. Oh, it's a premiere. Oh, it's going to be a video. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Catlin, can you switch? Can you put on the? So go to YouTube on your Chrome tab and go to just search for PlayStation. Click on the road to PS5. So that's scheduled. Make that full screen, please. You'll just have to monitor the audio. Can you not? No, it's okay for right now. Scroll up.
Okay.
Now switch it over in Streamlabs. Put your Chrome browser as. Yep, that one. Oh no, because it's still showing my laptop. So just activate your Chrome. Get rid of my laptop. Yep.
Sweet.
Cool. We got a lot of stuff going on. We're excited for the premiere. It looks like it's a video, so they're just going to have this live. If you guys want to watch this yourself, just go over to PlayStation's YouTube channel. We're going to be commentating on it. So if you don't want to hear our commentation, go over and watch that. But we're going to be... Wake up, muggles. That is derogatory. Wait, no, it's mudbloods. That's derogatory, isn't it?
That's the one. Yes.
Okay.
Muggles are just a descriptor.
Whoopsies. So Sony is doing a Nintendo Connect? No, it's called PlayStation State of Play. They've been doing these for a long time.
Yeah, since they pulled out of E3 like all those years back, they've been doing their own State of Plays. And
Catlin, can you turn it to dark mode since you have Heathen Light mode on?
This is on the hot news channel.
I know, but it's your computer. So click on the hot news button. And then dark theme. Turn that on, please.
There we go.
Better.
Wow.
Much better.
Yeah, there's a new iPad Pro that came out after we prepared for hot news today, so we'll just have to talk about all the Apple stuff tomorrow. Thank you everybody who's watching on YouTube and Twitch right now. It means a lot. I just sent money in Bitcoin. Thank you so much, I'm Night Fury. It means a lot. Your support is... Oh, Ramon Sheppers. It's not on the Sony channel. Is it hidden? It's a premiere happening right now. Thank you so much, Ramon, for your donation. We felt like we're live on it right now, as you can see. The Catlin's got the chat still there. It's not your fault, Catlin. I'm not blaming you for anything. You just have to make sure to manage the audio, okay, friend?
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Should still be on.
You should be on point, ready to go.
Yo.
Yo, she ready. Catlin ready to go.
Is there any way to test the audio?
No, because they don't have the audio live, so you don't know how loud it's gonna
Yeah.
If I play a different video?
be. No, because you don't know how loud they're gonna be.
We'll just have to see it and quickly adjust live. Oh, that chat's going fast.
Outside, I'm getting a new keyboard delivered on Sunday. Nice, my friend. Congrats.
Which one?
Imagine buying a console in 2020. Bro, they have some of the best games. How else are you going to play Final Fantasy VII Remake? Huh? PC in 7 years when they finally come out for it? Or in 15 years when you can finally emulate it?
That one.
Huh?
Knack 3, here we go. I didn't play Knack 2 at all.
I didn't even know what's Knack.
It was like one of the launch titles for PlayStation 4.
Never even heard of it.
Really?
Irrelevant.
No, it was everywhere. Like, for the longest time after PlayStation 4 launch, you could buy like Killzone and Knack. That was it.
Can you switch over?
I'll switch
Please,
over.
friend. All right, we're going to be talking throughout this thing. You guys are more than welcome to go watch over on PlayStation's websites if that's what you want, if you don't want our commentation. But otherwise, sit back, relax, enjoy. We're going to have a discussion afterwards, so even if you do want to go watch exclusively on Sony's web or YouTube channel, you come back here for the discussion afterwards. We'll have a hot news breakdown. Is our mic not coming through?
Yeah, I just noticed your mic isn't coming through for some reason.
Wonder what happened
I
there.
don't know when it happened.
200 bits from Sonamoose. Sorry.
There's no feed going in.
Are we muted on anything?
No.
Weird. Can you switch back to ACAM, see if it works there? Check, check.
No, it's
No,
not
it's
working.
dead.
Are we coming through though? Oh, we got a Twitch Prime sub from Sarah Sir. Reese, can you check on that, please?
No, there's no signal at all.
They can hear us,
Oh,
can?
so it's just not showing up in OBS.
Weird.
okay.
Huh.
Volume is fine on Twitch.
Okay, everything's working. It's just
I guess.
not coming through on our program. That's okay.
Yeah, no.
So
that-
switch back, Catlin. All eyes on PlayStation.
Weird, yeah.
Oh, 2 minutes?
There we go.
Let us know how the audio is for you guys, because we can't control it apparently. Now go full screen, please. On your Chrome.
There we go.
It's good.
Alrighty. Yeah, let's just know.
Can you turn on the video? Thank you. A little loud. Turning it down for you guys. They still need to be able to hear it. Control it your side, don't control it in the YouTube.
There's the noise signal.
It's probably something's whack with the Go XLR.
Don't try to fix it, Catelyn. Just we'll listen to chat on this. They're saying it's perfect.
Alright, sweet.
Officer Dave with the Twitch Prime sub.
Heck yeah. You got chat both up?
Yeah.
Alright, sweet. I'm digging this music that Sony's got going. Very chill vibes.
Let's go. We're ready. We're ready to watch. Again, go to Sony's YouTube channel if you want to watch without our commentation. Anybody who tells us to shut up will be banned. Or not. I don't care. We're not going to listen to you.
That one.
Thank you, everybody, for the Twitch Prime subs, for the bits. It's made everything really good. Can you turn it down a bit for me? No, just in the right one. I'm kidding.
I will
Oh!
fight you. Oh, here we go.
Time's going!
Fancy graphics.
Hi.
Turn it up.
Unfortunately, we had
Please,
to cancel
it's really quiet.
the talk that we had.
For every
planned
announcement,
this
you could like do a jumping high
But
five.
we do have some super
Have some
exciting
coffee
news
before
about
it starts on my
PS5,
bill.
And who better to bring that to you than the one and only Mark Cerny? Without further ado,
Mark Cerny! Woo! Oh, this is weird.
There will be lots of chances later on this year to look at the PlayStation 5 games. Today, I want to talk a bit about our goals for the PlayStation 5 hardware and how they influenced the development.
His voice is so sultry.
I think you all know I'm a big believer in console generations. Once every 5 or 6 or 7 years, a console arrives with substantially new capabilities. There's a lot of learning by the game developers, hopefully not too overwhelming, and soon there's games that could never have been created before. Now, it used to be that as a console designer, you'd somehow intuit what would be the best set of capabilities for the new console, and then build it in complete secrecy. For the PlayStation consoles, that period lasted through PlayStation 3, a powerful and groundbreaking console, but also one that caused quite a lot of heartache, as it was initially difficult to develop games.
Stop trying to change things, guys.
So, starting with PlayStation 4, we've taken a different approach, roughly centered around 3
It's
principles.
still working. We'll be okay.
The first of these is listening to the developers, which is
thing,
to
if you
say that
think
a
that
lot
there's
of what
behind.
we put into a console derives directly from the needs and aspirations
Not allowed to
of the
smack
game
your butt for
creators.
money.
We definitely do
that's
have some
prostitution.
ideas of our own, but at the core of our philosophy for designing consoles is that game players are here
It's quiet
for
for
the
us too,
fantastic
guys.
games.
Yeah.
Which is to say that game creators matter. Anything we can do to make life
Let's
easier
just
for
shut
the
up and
game
listen to
creators
Mark.
or help them realize their dreams, we will do. So, about once every 2 years, I take a tour of the industry. I go to the various developers and publishers, sit down, and discuss how they're doing with the current console
The fake
and what they'd
audience
like
is
to
so
see
bad.
in future consoles.
Then none of-
This requires weeks on the road, as reaching the bulk of the game creators involves talking to well over 100 people at something like 24 publishers and developers. And it is incredibly valuable. By the way, the feature most requested by the developers, that was an SSD, which we were very happy to put in the hardware, but a lot of problem solving was required. I'll be doing a deep dive on the SSD and surrounding systems later on in this talk. It's also key to make a generational leap while keeping the console sufficiently familiar to game developers. I think about this in terms of balancing evolution.
Guys, we can't turn it
and
up louder
revolution.
because the stream
Now,
itself
with
is really
PlayStation
quiet.
1,
We have
2,
it
and
really
3,
loud
the
in our
target
ears,
was a
and
revolution
it's just
each time
quiet.
with a brand new feature set. That was great in
dude's
many
whispering.
ways, but time for the
So
developers
turn
to
up
get
your
up and running
headphones.
got longer.
We
with
can't
the
turn up the
console.
stream.
In the past, I've called this time to triangle. Here's what I had for those 3 consoles. To be clear, I'm not talking about time to make a game. Developers will be ambitious, and it may take them 6 years or so to realize their vision. What I'm talking about is that dead time before graphics and other aspects of game development are up and running, and trying to minimize that. On the other hand, if we're trying to reduce that dead time to 0, that means the hardware architecture can't change at all. We're handcuffed. We need to judge for each feature what value it adds and whether it's worth the increase in developer time needed to support it. So with PlayStation 4, we were able to strike a pretty good balance between performance and familiarity. We got required learning back to PlayStation 1
Fake
levels.
audience is
With
cringy.
PS5,
Well, like
the
they should've just
GPU
not
was
had any
definitely the area
foreground.
we felt the most tension between adding new features and keeping a familiar programming model. Ultimately, I think we've ended up with something under a month of getting up to speed. That feels like we're striking about the right balance. I'll go into a bit more detail later today about our philosophy with the GPU and the specific
You're not
feature
going to
set
cell
that resulted.
architecture. You're x86, so it's still
It's
x86.
also very important for us, as the hardware team, to find new dreams, by which I mean something other than CPU performance, GPU performance, and the amount of RAM. The increase in graphics performance over the past 2 decades has been astonishing, but there are other areas in which we can innovate and provide significant value to the game creator.
This is
and
what we
through
have to
them,
deal with
the
when
players. That's why the
everything's canceled.
SSD was very much on our list of directions to explore, regardless of what came out of the conversations with game developers and publishers. The biggest feature in this category is the custom engine for audio. That's today's final topic. The push for vastly improved audio, and in particular 3D audio, isn't something that came out of the developer meetings. It's much more the case that we had a dream of what might be possible
Are you
5
literally
years
not
from
going to
now,
give us anything
and then
more?
worked out a number of steps we could take to set us on that path. So here again are the 3 principles, the first being enabling the desires of developers to drive the hardware design. To me, the SSD really is the key to the next generation.
can whisper
It's
to me all
a
night
game
long.
changer. And it was the number one ask from developers for PlayStation 5. As in, we know it's probably impossible, but can you put an SSD in?
Impossible. I put an
That
SSD
was
in
a
my
discussion we
PS4.
were also having internally. It was clear that the presence of a hard drive in every PlayStation 4 was having a positive impact. A lot of things that would simply have been impossible at Blu-ray disc speeds were now possible. At the same time, though, in 2015 and 2016, when we were having these conversations, developers were already banging up against the limits of the hard drive. And a lot of developer time was being spent designing around slow load speeds. I want to focus in on just one number here, which is how long it takes to load a gigabyte of data from a hard drive.
Tell us the
The
read
difficulty
write
being that hard drives are neither particularly fast nor
speeds.
flexible.
They are telling us.
If all your data is in one block, which is frankly not very likely, you can load 50 to 100 megabytes a second, depending on where the data is located on the hard drive. Let's assume it's on the outer edge, which means loading a gigabyte takes 10 seconds. If you compress your game packages, you can fit more data on the Blu-ray disc
graphics
and
are
also
stuttering.
effectively
It's weird.
boost your hard drive read speed by the compression ratio. We support zlib decompression on PlayStation 4 that gets you something like 50% more data on the disk and 50% higher effective read speed. Unfortunately, though, it's highly likely that your data is scattered around
weird
in
that they
various
have any
files on the
breakdown
hard
when an
drive,
SSD does.
as
When
well
we're
as
in
sourced
2020
from
and
multiple
people are upgrading
locations
their
within those
laptops back in
files.
20
So lots of seeks are needed at
2006,
2 to
2007.
50-ish milliseconds each. My rule of thumb is that the hard drive is spending 2/3 of its time seeking and only 1/3 of its time actually loading data.
You guys only
Putting
know
all
what
of
an
that
SSD
together,
is
a gigabyte
because
is
you've
very
been on
roughly
PC.
20
Okay,
seconds
console
to
people have
load
to learn
from a
about
hard
this. Think about somebody besides yourself
Now,
for once.
a gigabyte is not
it's
much
not
data.
about the
Games are
future.
using 5 or 6 gigabytes of RAM on PlayStation 4, so boot times and load times can get pretty grim. Or to put that differently, as a player, you wait for the game to boot, wait for the game to load, wait for the level to reload every time you die, and you wait for what is euphemistically called fast travel. And all of that leads to the dream. What if we could have not just an SSD,
I
but
swear,
a
if they
blindingly
tell us
fast
that the
SSD?
time is
If we could
instantaneous and
load
don't give us a
5
real number,
gigabytes
I'm
a
going to
second
slap
from
myself.
it, what would change?
5 gigabytes per second
Now,
at least.
SSDs are completely different from hard drives. They
That's
don't
the
have
target.
seeks as such.
Well,
If you have
what they're
a
gonna come
5
up with.
gigabyte a second SSD, you can read data from 1,000 different locations in that second, pretty much at speed. As for time
That's
to load
faster
a
than what
gigabyte,
Xbox
this
said.
is next gen we're talking about, so memory is bigger. Instead, we should be asking how long to load 2 gigabytes. And the answer is about 1/4 of a second. That's amazing. We're talking 2 orders of magnitude.
So this
meaning
is faster
very
than what most
roughly
people have in their
100 times faster. Which means at 5 gigabytes a second for the
Most people
SSD,
take
the
4
potential
seconds
is
to load a
that
gigabyte
the game boots
with a
in a
regular
second.
SATA SSD.
There are no load screens. The game just fades down while loading a half dozen gigabytes and fades back up again. Same for a reload. You're immediately back in the action after you die. And fast travel becomes so fast it's blink and you miss it. As game creators, we go from trying to distract the player from how long fast travel is taking, like those Spider-Man subway rides, to being so blindingly fast that we might even have to slow that transition down.
Can't read my loading
Pretty
screen,
cool,
thanks.
right? But for me, this is not the primary reason to change from a hard drive to an SSD. The primary reason for an ultra-fast SSD is that it gives the game designer freedom. Or to put that differently, with a hard drive, the 20 seconds that it takes to load a gigabyte can sabotage the game that the developer is trying to create.
Damn it,
I think
Sony, why do you have to
almost all of
sabotage
us
your
in the
games
room have
developers?
experienced this, maybe in different ways. Say we're making an adventure game and we have two rich environments where we each want enough textures and models to fill memory, which you can do as long as you have a long staircase or elevator ride or a windy corridor where you can ditch the old assets and then take 30 seconds or so to load the new assets. Having a 30-second elevator ride is a little extreme. More realistically, we'd probably chop the world into a number of smaller pieces and then do some calculations with sight lines and run speeds like we did for Haven City when we were making Jack.
I swear, if they
The
announce
game
a
is
new Jack
20
game,
years
I'm gonna
old,
lose my
but
crap.
not much has changed since then. All those twisty
They
passages are
better
there for a
announce
reason.
Jack 4.
There's a whole subset of level design
Actually, you know
dedicated
what?
to
I
this
don't
sort
think
of
Jack
work,
needs to see.
but still, it's a giant distraction for a team that just wants to make their game. So when I talked about the dream of an SSD, part of the reason for that 5 GB a second target was to eliminate loads, but also part of the reason for that target was streaming. As in, what if the SSD is so fast that as the player is turning around, it's possible to load textures for everything behind the player in that split second?
I mean, that's what
If you figure
Horizon
that
Zero Dawn
it
did.
takes half a second to turn, that's 4 GB of compressed data you can load. That sounds about right for next gen. Anyway, back to the hard drive.
You announce
Another
Jack 4
strategy
right
for
now,
increasing effective
I'll
read
burn
speed is to make
my
big
PlayStation 4
sequential
to the
chunks
ground.
of data. For example, we might
Just
group
because
all the
they
data
showed
together
Jack
for each city
2.
block.
You better
That
be
removes
choosy
most of the
with what
seeds,
you're showing.
and the
I need
streaming
Jack
gets
4.
faster. But there's a downside too, which is that frequently used data is included in many chunks and therefore is on the hard drive many, many times. Marvel's Spider-Man uses this strategy, and though it works very well for increasing the streaming speed, there's a massive duplication as a result. Some of the objects like mailboxes or news racks are on the hard drive
Yeah, but
400
if they don't
times.
duplicate it, then game development
What I'm
time goes
describing
up.
here are things that cramp a creative director's style. Either level design gets a little bit boring in places, or the data is duplicated so many times that it no longer fits on the Blu-ray disc. And you end up with hard limits on the player's run speed or driving speed. The player can't go faster than the load speed from the hard drive. And finally, I'm sure many of you have noticed that after a patch download, the PlayStation 4 will sometimes take a long time to install the patch. That's because when just part of a file has been
This
changed,
is a really
the new
weird
data can be
presentation.
downloaded pretty quickly. But before the game boots
Both
up,
the
a
whispering
brand
that
new
he's
file
doing,
has to be constructed that includes
how
the changed
amazing
portion.
his voice is and
Otherwise,
how
every
much it's
change
riling
would
me
add
up on my
a secret
insides.
or two.
And just the
Even
content.
so, you can occasionally see
Like,
this
this is a
happening
very
on game
weird
titles.
presentation
They
to be
start
having in the
hitch
current
once
global
they get
climate.
patched enough.
You're all gonna die
With
of
an SSD,
coronavirus.
no
But don't
seams,
worry.
so no need
You
to
can
make
just
brand
look
new
at the
files with the
PlayStation
changes
5's
incorporated,
intense loading speeds.
which means no installs as you know them today.
Feel good.
There's yet one more benefit, which is that system memory can be used
Sleep
much more
paralysis,
efficiently.
But it's him sitting in the corner.
On
whispering
PlayStation
at
4,
you.
game
Bro,
data
that's
on the
sleep
hard drive
paralysis.
feels very distant and difficult to use. By the time you realize you need a piece of data, it's much too late to go out and load it. So system memory has to contain all of the data that could be used in the next 30 seconds or so of gameplay. That means a lot of the 8 gigabytes of system memory is idle. It's just waiting there to be potentially used. On PlayStation
Oh, they're
5,
gonna have
though, the
16 gigs of
SSD
RAM.
is very close to being
Okay.
like more RAM.
So they've
Typically,
confirmed
it's
a
fast
faster
enough that when you
SSD
realize
and the
you
same
need
amount
a
of
piece
RAM
of data,
as
you can just
the
load
Xbox.
it from the
It's on
SSD and
GDDR6,
use it.
so-
There's no need to have lots of data parked in system memory waiting to potentially be used.
And they're making it
A
seem
different
like
way
all
of
of it's
saying
available
that is that
and not
most of
reserved.
RAM is working on the game's behalf. This is one of the reasons that 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 feels right for PlayStation
So they're
5.
making announcements,
The
but
presence
in a
of the
really
SSD
very
reduces the
broken up,
need
slow,
for a massive intergenerational
way.
increase
Whereas
in
Xbox
size.
just dropped everything.
So back to the dream of the SSD. Here's the set of targets. Boot the game in a second. No load screens. Design freedom, meaning no twisty passages or long corridors. More game on the disk and more game on the SSD. And finally, Those patch
So they've also
installs go
confirmed a
away.
disk drive.
The reality, though, is that the SSD is just one piece of the puzzle. There's a lot of places where bottlenecks can occur in between the SSD and the game code that uses the data. You can see this on PlayStation 4. If I use an SSD with 10 times the speed of a standard hard drive, I probably see only double the loading speed, if that.
Not very.
For PlayStation
Still
5, our goal was not just that the SSD itself be 100 times faster. It was that game loads and streaming would be 100 times
hate that
faster.
we have
So
to whisper right
every
now in order to
single
match this
potential
volume.
bottleneck needed to be addressed. And there are a lot of them. Let's look at check-in and what happens when its overhead gets 100 times
this is
larger.
great.
Conceptually, check-in is a pretty simple process.
is very
Data
weird.
is loaded into system memory from the hard drive or
This
SSD.
feels like something
It's
that should have been
examined.
in Wired,
A few values are tweaked
which is how they
to
did it the
check
first
in,
time. Just
and then it's
redo that.
moved
Give
to
us a
its
Wired
final
interview.
location. At
and
the
then
SSD speeds
we
we're talking about,
get the
that
hype
last
from
part,
your marketing
moving
team,
the
not
data,
your
meaning
engineer.
copying it from one location to another, takes
should have had a
roughly
more
an
higher
entire next-gen
impact
CPU
explosive
core.
energy.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. If
It's a
all the
creepy smile.
overheads get 100 times larger, that will cripple the
Remember to
frame rate
smile,
as soon
Jim.
as the player
Mark,
moves and that
remember to
massive
smile.
stream of data starts coming off the SSD. So to solve all of that, we built a lot of custom hardware, namely a
Oh, yeah,
custom
baby.
flash
That's what's
controller
good.
and a number of custom units
Tell
in
me
our
more.
main chip. The
Tell
flash
me more.
controller in the SSD was designed for smooth and bottleneck-free operation,
and
but also
custom.
with games in mind. For example, there are 6 levels of priority when reading from the SSD. Priority is very important. You can imagine the player heading into
priority
some
is
new
nothing more.
location in the world and the game requesting a few gigabytes of textures. And while those textures are being loaded, an enemy is shot and has to speak a few dying words. Having multiple priority levels lets the audio for those dying words get loaded immediately.
I've always want dying audio.
On one side, that flash controller connects to the actual flash dies that supply the storage. To reach our bandwidth target of 5 gigabytes a second, we ended up with a 12-channel interface. 8 channels wouldn't be enough. The resulting bandwidth we've achieved is
Dang.
actually 5.5
That's faster than
gigabytes a second.
Xbox.
With a 12-channel interface, the most natural size that emerges for an SSD is 825 gigabytes. The key question for us was, is that enough? I mean, it's tempting to add more, but Flash certainly doesn't come cheap, and we have a responsibility to our gaming audience to be cost-effective with regards to what we
No, you
put
don't.
in the
Just give me
console.
all I can handle.
Ultimately, we
me a 1
resolved this
terabyte and a
question
2
by
terabyte
looking at the
edition.
play patterns of a broad range of gamers. We examined the specific games that they were playing over the course of a weekend or a week or a month, and whether that set of games would fit properly on
Right
the
now it
SSD.
will, but not later.
We were able to establish that the friction caused by reinstalls or re-downloads would be quite low. And so we locked in on that 825
terabyte.
gigabyte size, while also preparing
825
multiple strategies so that
usable.
those who want more storage can add it. I'll go through the details in a moment.
There we go.
Back to the flash controller. On the other side, it connects to our main custom chip via 4 lanes of
There
Gen
it
4
is.
PCIe. And inside the main custom chip is a pretty hefty unit
He
dedicated
does
to
sound like a calm Linus.
Before we talk about what that does, let's talk compression for a moment.
My gosh.
PlayStation 4 used zlib as its compression format. We decided to use it again on PlayStation 5, but on my 2017
can't
tour of
hear it now.
developers, I learned about a new format called Kraken from Rad Game Tools. It's like zlib's smarter cousin. Simple, similar types of algorithms, but about 10% better compression, which is pretty big. That means 10% more game on the UHD Blu-ray disc or on the SSD. Kraken had only been out for a year, but it was already becoming a de facto industry standard. Half of the teams I talked to were either using it or getting ready to evaluate it. So we hustled and built a custom decompressor into the I/O unit, one capable of handling over 5 gigabytes of Kraken format input data a second. After decompression, that typically becomes 8 or 9 gigabytes, but the unit itself is capable of outputting as much as 22 gigabytes a second if the data happen to compress particularly well. By the way, in terms of performance, that custom decompressor equates to 9 of our Zen 2 cores. That's what it would take to decompress the Kraken stream with a conventional CPU. There's a lot more in the custom I/O unit, including a dedicated DMA controller. The game can direct exactly where it wants to send the data coming off of the SSD. This equates to another Zen 2 core or 2 in terms of its copy performance. Its primary purpose is to remove check-in as a bottleneck. There's 2 dedicated I/O coprocessors and a large RAM pool. These aren't Zen 2 cores. They're there principally to direct the variety of custom hardware around them. One of the coprocessors is dedicated to SSD I/O. This lets us bypass traditional file I/O and its bottlenecks when reading from the SSD. The other is responsible for memory mapping, which I know doesn't sound like anything related to the SSD, but a lot of developers map and remap memory as part of file I/O, and this too can become a bottleneck. There are coherency engines to assist the coprocessors. Coherency comes up a lot in places. Probably the biggest coherency issue is stale data in the GPU caches. Flushing all of the GPU caches whenever the SSD is read is an unattractive option. It could really hurt the GPU performance. So we've implemented a gentler way of doing things, where the coherency engines inform the GPU of the overwritten address ranges, and custom scrubbers in several dozen GPU caches do pinpoint evictions of just those address ranges. The best thing is, as a game developer, when you read from the SSD, you don't need to know any of this. You don't even need to know that your data is compressed. You just indicate what data you'd like to read from your original uncompressed file and where you'd like to put it, and the whole process of loading it happens invisibly to you and at very high speed. Back to the dream. Thanks to all of that surrounding hardware, our 5.5 gigabytes a second really should translate into something like 100 times faster
faster
I/O
than
from
most
PS4,
people who even have a
and allow the
PCI
dream
Express
of
4.0
no
drive.
load screens and super fast streaming to
PS5
become a
ranks.
reality. Having said that, expandability of our SSD is going to be quite important. Flash is costly, and you may very well want to add storage to whatever we put in the console. Now, the kind of storage you need depends on how you're going to use it. If you have an extensive PlayStation 4 library and you'd like to take advantage of backwards compatibility to play those games on PlayStation 5, then a large external hard drive is ideal.
External PCI
You can
Express 4.0
leave your
drives.
games on the hard drive and
Microsoft
play them
and Sony
directly
leading
from
the way
there,
on that's
thus
kinda cool.
saving the pricier SSD storage
That
for your
makes sense.
PlayStation 5
'Cause you
titles.
don't have that
Or
on
you can copy
PC at
your
all.
active PlayStation 4 titles to the SSD. If your purpose in adding more storage is to play PlayStation 5 titles, though, ideally you would add to your SSD storage. We will be supporting certain M2 SSDs. These are internal drives that you can get on the open market and install in a bay in PlayStation 5. As for which ones we support and when, I'll get to that in a moment. They connect through the custom I/O unit, just like our SSD does. So they can take full advantage of the decompression, I/O coprocessors, and all the other features I was talking about. Here's the catch, though. That commercial drive has to be at least as fast as ours. Games that rely on the speed of our SSD need to work flawlessly with any M2 drive. When I gave the Wired interview last year, I said that the PlayStation 5 SSD was faster than anything available on PC. At the time, commercial M2 drives used PCIe 3.0, and 4 lanes of that cap out at 3.5 gigabytes a second. In other words, no PCIe 3.0 drive can hit the required spec. M2 drives with PCIe 4.0 are now out in the market. We're getting in samples and seeing 4 or 5 gigabytes a second from them. By year's end, I expect there will be drives that saturate 4.0 and support 7 gigabytes a second. Having said that, we are comparing apples and oranges, though, because that commercial M2 drive will have its own architecture, its own flash controller, and so on. For example, the NVMe specification lays out a priority scheme for requests that the M2 drives can use. And that scheme is pretty nice, but it only has 2 true priority levels. Our drive supports 6. We can hook up a drive with only 2 priority levels, definitely, but our custom I/O unit has to arbitrate the extra priorities rather than the M2 drive's flash controller. And so the M2 drive needs a little extra speed to take care of issues arising from the different approach.
PlayStation-certified ones.
That commercial drive also needs to physically fit inside of the bay we created in PlayStation 5 for M2 drives. Unlike internal hard drives, there's unfortunately no standard
to not
for
blow
the
out your
height
eardrums
of
from
an M2
turning
drive.
this guy
And
up.
some M2 drives have giant heat sinks. In fact, some of them even have their own fans.
But that would hurt.
Right now, we're getting M2 drive samples and benchmarking them in various ways. When games hit beta as they get ready for the PlayStation 5 launch at year-end, we'll also be doing some compatibility testing to make sure that the architecture of particular M2 drives isn't too foreign for the games to handle. Once we've done that compatibility testing, we should be able to start letting you
How
know
long can you
which
talk about
drives will
SSDs?
physically fit
Freaking long
and
time.
which drive samples have benchmarked appropriately high in our testing.
I'm just impressed that
It would
he
be
looks
great
like Dana
if that
Carvey,
happened by
sounds like
launch,
a
but it's
calm
likely to
artist,
be
and isn't
a bit
stuttering
past
over
it.
his
So
words.
please hold
A
off
lot of
on
tech
getting that
input to get
M2
out
drive until you
Okay,
hear
so he
it.
said don't buy
Okay,
updated
back to our
ones
principles.
until they come out
Balancing
with more specs.
evolution and revolution is the second of them. This was definitely a recurring theme with the GPU. We need new GPU features and capabilities. If we only have more performance, it's not really a new generation of console. Of course, many of these capabilities result in more performance. That's part of why a PlayStation 5 teraflop is more powerful than a PlayStation 4 teraflop. But we aren't
just said
just looking for
teraflops
the
are better.
performance. We also need the ability to do something with the GPU that could not have been done
the
before.
teraflops.
And we
I
need
need
higher performance
20
per watt.
teraflops.
Every time we double
Let's
the
go
performance
PS5.
of some
20.
GPU component, we don't want to find out we've doubled the power consumed and the heat produced. But at the same time, we have to make sure the GPU can run PS4 games, and we have to ensure that the architecture is easy for the developers to adopt. Now, backwards compatibility was
Come on,
handled
give me a
masterfully
$1,000
by
PS5.
AMD. They treated
your
it as
entire
a
stock.
key need throughout the design process.
All of it.
As our solution to adding new features without blindsiding developers, we made sure that if there
69
were new
teraflops.
significant features, it would be optional to use them. The GPU supports ray tracing, but you don't have to use ray tracing to make your game. The GPU supports primitive shaders, but you can release your first game on PlayStation 5 without making any use of them. Before I get into the capabilities of the GPU, I'd like to make clear 2 points that can be quite confusing.
Don't confuse me.
First, we have a custom AMD GPU based on their RDNA 2
All those people saying
technology.
it was
What does that mean?
RDNA 1.
AMD is
RDNA 2.
continuously improving and revising their tech. For RDNA 2, their goals were, roughly speaking, to reduce power consumption by re-architecting the GPU to put data
Re-architect me,
close
Mark.
to where it's needed, to optimize the GPU for performance, and to add a new, more advanced feature set. But that feature set is malleable, which is to say that we have our own needs for PlayStation,
Malleable,
and that can
Mark.
factor into what the AMD roadmap becomes. So collaboration is born. If we bring concepts to AMD that are felt to be
AMD,
widely
Sony birth.
useful, then they can be adopted into RDNA 2 and used broadly, including in PC GPUs. If the ideas are sufficiently specific to what we're trying to accomplish, like the GPU cache scrubbers I was talking about, then they end up being just
So
for
calm.
us. If you see a similar discrete GPU available as a PC card at roughly the same time as we release
sucks.
our console, that means our collaboration with AMD succeeded in producing technology useful in both
just
worlds.
took credit for
It
PCs.
doesn't mean that we as Sony simply incorporated the PC part into our console. This continuous improvement in AMD technology means it's dangerous to rely on teraflops as an absolute indicator of
'cause it's
performance.
completely different
and
architecture.
CU count should be avoided as well. In the case of CPUs, we all understand this. The PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 each have 8 CPUs, but we never think that meant the capabilities and performance are equal. It's the same for CUs. For one thing, they've been getting much larger over time. Adding new features means adding lots of transistors. In fact, the transistor count for a PlayStation 5 CU is 62% larger than the
Why is it not
transistor count for a
69%?
PlayStation 4 CU.
Should have gone for it.
Second, the PlayStation 5 GPU is backwards compatible with PlayStation 4. What does that mean? One way you can achieve backwards compatibility is to put the previous console's chipset in the new console, like we did with some PlayStation
So,
3s.
the
But that's,
first
of
ones,
course,
and that was it,
extremely
because
expensive.
it was stupid.
A better way is to incorporate any differences in the previous console's logic into the new console's custom chips, meaning that even as the technology evolves, the logic and feature set that PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro titles rely on is still available in backwards compatibility
Notice
modes.
PS3 is not
One
included.
advantage of this strategy is that once backwards compatibility is in the console, it's in. It's not as if a cost down will remove backwards compatibility like it did on PlayStation 3. Achieving this unification of functionality took years of efforts by AMD, as any roadmap advancement creates a potential divergence in logic. Running PS4 and PS4 titles at
No, he's
boosted
not
frequencies
justifying
has
that the
also added
teraflops will be
complexity.
less than the
The
Xbox
boost
Series
is
X. They're going to be
truly massive
comparable.
this time
'Cause it's
around, and some
RDNA2.
game
Yes,
code
they're
just
both
did it
RDNA2.
anyway.
He's
Testing
not.
has to
He's
be
not
done
trying
on
to
a title by title
compare
basis.
Xbox and PlayStation.
Results
comparing
are
PS4
excellent,
to PS5.
though. We recently
That's
took
it.
a look at the top 100 PlayStation 4 titles as ranked by playtime, and we're expecting almost all of them to be playable at launch
Nice.
on PlayStation 5.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
With regards to new features, as I said, our strategy was to try to break
Geometry
new
engines.
ground, but at the same time not to
Geometry engine.
require use of the new GPU capabilities. For more than a decade, GPUs have imposed a
Will it run
restriction
Linux?
on game engines.
Probably not.
Software handles vertex
It's the same as
processing, but
PS4.
for the
They got
most
rid of
part,
it.
dedicated hardware is responsible for the triangles and other geometry that the vertices form. That means it's not possible to do even basic
us the numbers, Mark.
optimizations, such as aborting
numbers,
processing
Mark.
of a vertex
What are
if
they?
all geometry that uses it is off-screen. PlayStation 5
They
has
don't need a
a
better
new
presenter.
unit called
He's the perfect
geometry
presenter
engine,
for this
which
type
brings
of stuff.
handling
He's
of
handling
triangles and
complex
other primitives under
architectural
full
stuff
programmatic
very
control.
well. What
As a
they
game
need
developer, you're
is to not
free to ignore
announce
its
the
existence
architecture.
and use the PlayStation 5 GPU as if it were no more capable than the PS4 GPU, or you can use this new intelligence in various ways. Simple usage could be performance optimization, such as removing backfaced or off-screen vertices and triangles. More
me that
complex
brain
usage
juice.
involves something called primitive shaders, which
Delicious.
allow the game to
Why do
synthesize
people
geometry
keep saying
on
9
the fly
teraflops?
as it's
Because
being
that's
rendered.
what they
It's a
expect.
brand new capability. Using
don't know
primitive
yet.
shaders on PlayStation 5 will allow for a
We have to
broad
see.
variety of techniques,
This guy's
including
not
a smoothly
boring. You're
varying
just
level of
expecting
detail,
hype.
addition
You're
of
watching me
procedural
and
detail to
expecting
close-up
him to be
objects,
better.
and
It's
improvements
not
to
happening.
particle effects and other visual special effects. Another major new feature of our
tracing.
custom RDNA
that the Battlefield
2-based
5i?
GPU is ray tracing,
Damn it.
using the same strategy as AMD's upcoming PC GPUs.
PC GPUs. Why are
The
they
CPUs
announcing
contain
PC stuff
a new
that AMD has?
specialized unit called the intersection engine, which can calculate the intersection of rays with boxes and
Basically, by
triangles.
the sound of this,
To
you'll
use
be
the
able to buy
intersection engine,
roughly the
first you
exact same
build what is
GPU
called
that's in the
an
PlayStation
acceleration structure.
stuff.
It's data in RAM that contains all of your
For
geometry.
erectile dysfunction
There's a
of the voice.
specific set of formats you can use. They're variations on the same BVH
Do
concept.
Linus dirty like
Then, in your shader program, you use a new instruction that
Four
asks the
yeah.
intersection engine to check a ray against the BVH. While the intersection engine is processing the requested ray triangle or ray box intersections, the shaders are free to do other work. Having said that, the ray tracing instruction is pretty memory intensive, so it's a good mix with logic-heavy code. There's of course no need to use ray tracing. PS4 graphics engines will run just fine on PlayStation 5, but it presents an opportunity for those interested. I'm thinking it'll take less than 1 million rays a second to have a big impact on audio. That should be enough for audio occlusion and some reverb calculations. With a bit more of the GPU invested in ray tracing, it should be possible to do some very nice global illumination. Having said that, adding ray-traced shadows and reflections to a traditional graphics engine could easily take hundreds of millions of rays a second, and full ray tracing could take billions. How far can we go? I'm starting to get quite bullish. I've already seen a PlayStation 5 title that's successfully using ray tracing-based reflections in complex animated scenes with only modest costs. Another set of issues for the GPU involved size and frequency. How big do we make the GPU, and what frequency
Make
do
it
we
very
run it
big.
at? This is a balancing
frickin'
act.
big,
The chip
frickin'
has a
fast.
cost, and there's a cost for whatever we use to supply that chip with power and to cool it. In general, I like running the GPU at higher frequency. Let me show you why. Here's 2 possible configurations for a GPU roughly of the level of the PlayStation 4 Pro. This is a thought experiment. Don't take these configurations too seriously. If you
us
just
the
calculate
gosh dang
teraflops, you get the same
specifications.
number. But actually, the performance is noticeably different because teraflops is defined as the computational capability of the vector ALU. That's just one part of the GPU. There are a lot of other units. And those other units all run faster when the GPU frequency is higher. At 33% higher frequency, rasterization goes 33% faster. Processing the command buffer goes that much faster.
us 2
The L2
gigahertz.
and
Right.
other caches have that much higher bandwidth, and so on. About the only downside is that system memory is 33% further away in terms of cycles. But the large number of benefits more than counterbalance that. As a friend of mine says, a rising tide lifts
gosh.
all boats. Also, it's easier to fully use 36 CUs in parallel than it is to fully use 48 CUs. When triangles are small, it's much harder to fill all those CUs with useful work. So there's a lot to be said for faster, assuming you can handle the resulting power and heat issues, which frankly, we haven't always done the best job at. Part of the reason for that is, historically, our process for setting CPU and GPU frequencies has relied on some heavy-duty guesswork with regards to how much electrical power games will consume and how much heat will be produced as a result inside of the console.
Reference to God of War.
Power consumption varies a lot from game to game. When I play God of War on my PS4 Pro, I know the power consumption is high just by the fan noise. But power isn't simply about engine quality. It's about the minutiae of what's being displayed and how. It's counterintuitive, but processing dense geometry typically consumes less power than processing simple geometry, which is, I suspect, why Horizon's map screen, with its low triangle count, makes my PS4 Pro heat up so much.
We also didn't
Our
do a good
process
job
on
of designing
previous
the cooler,
consoles
but
has been
that's
to try to
besides the
guess
point.
what the maximum power consumption during the entire console lifetime might be, which is to say, the worst case scene in the worst case game, and prepare a cooling solution that we think will be quiet at that power level. If we get it right, fan noise is minimal. If we get it wrong, the console will be quite loud for the higher power games, and there's even a chance that it might overheat and shut down if we misestimate power too badly. PlayStation 5 is especially challenging because the CPU supports 256-bit native instructions that consume a lot of power. These are great here and there, but presumably only minimally used. Or are they? If we plan for major 256-bit instruction usage, we need to set the CPU clock substantially lower or noticeably increase the size of the power supply.
Or just have a dynamic power or frequency.
So after much discussion, we decided to go with a very different direction on PlayStation 5. We built a GPU with 36 CUs. Mind you, RDNA 2 CUs are large. Each has 62% more transistors than the CUs we were using on PlayStation 4. So if we compare transistor counts, 36 RDNA 2 CUs equates to roughly 58 PlayStation 4 CUs. It is a fairly sizable GPU. Then we went with a variable frequency strategy for PlayStation 5, which is to say we continuously run the GPU and CPU in boost mode. We supply a generous amount of electrical power and then increase the frequency of GPU and CPU until they reach the capabilities of the system's cooling
You don't know
solution.
if it's 9.2 teraflops
It's
because you
a
don't know the
completely
speed.
different paradigm. Rather than running at constant frequency and letting power vary based on the workload, we run at essentially constant power and let the frequency vary based on the workload. We then tackled the engineering challenge of a cost-effective and high-performance cooling solution designed for that specific power level. In some ways, it becomes a simpler problem because there are no more unknowns. There's no need to guess what power consumption the worst-case game might have. As for the details of the cooling solution, we're saving them for our teardown. I think you'll be quite happy with what the engineering team came up with.
Stop multiple
So,
teasings.
how fast can we run the GPU and CPU with this strategy? The simplest approach would be to look at the actual temperature of the silicon die and throttle the frequency on that basis. But that won't work. It fails to create a consistent PlayStation 5 experience. It wouldn't do to run a console slower simply because it was in a hot room. So rather than look at the actual temperature of the silicon die, we look at the activities that the GPU and CPU are performing and set the frequencies on that basis, which makes everything deterministic and repeatable. While we're at it, we also use AMD's Smart Shift technology and send any unused power from the CPU to the GPU so it can squeeze out a few more pixels. The benefits of this strategy are quite large. Running a GPU at 2 gigahertz was looking like an unreachable target with the old fixed frequency strategy. With this new paradigm, we're able to run way over that. In fact, we have to cap the GPU frequency at 2.23 gigahertz so that we can guarantee that the on-chip logic operates.
That's much faster than the 10.3
36
teraflops.
CUs at 2.23 gigahertz is 10.3 teraflops. And we expect the GPU to spend most of its time at or close to
That's quite
that
good for
frequency
having
and
70%
performance.
of the CUs.
Similarly, running the CPU at 3 gigahertz was causing headaches with the old strategy. But now we can run it as high as 3.5 gigahertz.
Slower.
In fact, it spends most of its time at that frequency. That doesn't mean all games will be running at 2.23 gigahertz and 3.5 gigahertz. When that worst-case game arrives, it will run at a lower clock speed, but not too much lower. To reduce power by 10%, it only takes a couple of percent reduction in frequency. So I'd expect any downclocking
and that
to be
many
pretty minor.
teraflops is
All things considered, the change to a variable
gonna be
frequency
costing less
approach
than the Series
will show
X. I think we can
significant
guarantee
gains
that.
for PlayStation
So
gamers.
it's going to be based on
The
value.
final of our 3 principles was about finding new dreams. It's important for us on the hardware team to find new ways to expand or deepen gaming, and that's what led us to a focus on 3D audio. As players, we experience the game through the visuals, through audio, and through the feedback we receive from the controller, such as rumble or haptics. Personally, I feel a game is just dead without audio. Visuals are, of course, important, but the impact of audio is huge as well. At the same time, the audio team on a game project has to do a lot with a little. For example, on PlayStation 4, there's fierce competition for the Jaguar CPU cores. Audio typically ends up getting just a fraction of a core. That's not much of a computational resource, particularly when you consider that the visuals run at 30 or 60 frames a second, but audio processing needs to happen at almost 200 times a second. So it's been tough going making forward progress on audio with PlayStation 4, particularly when PlayStation 3 was such a beast when it came to audio. The SPUs in Cell were almost a perfect device for audio rendering. Simple pipelined algorithms could really take advantage of asynchronous DMA and frequently reached 100% utilization of the floating point unit. There's unfortunately nothing comparable on PlayStation 4.
Because of that, we're finding new memes.
Probably the most dramatic progress in the PlayStation 4 generation has been with virtual reality. The PSVR hardware has its own audio unit. It supports about 50 pretty decent 3D sound sources. And this provided a hint as to where we could go with audio, as well as some
PlayStation 4 Pro
valuable experience.
is slower than the Xbox One X.
Not to oversimplify,
More people
but
have the
here
PS4
were our
Pro.
goals for audio on PlayStation 5.
Better games.
The first goal was great audio for everyone, not just VR
Games sell
users or
consoles,
soundbar
and
owners
it's a
or
good
headphone
enough
users.
experience.
That meant audio had to be
It's-
part of the
it's not
console.
cheaper right
It
now.
couldn't
It's
be
normally
a
cheaper by
peripheral.
$100.
The second goal was to support hundreds of sound sources. We didn't want developers to have to pick and choose what sounds would get 3D effects and which wouldn't. We wanted every sound in the game to have dimensionality. And finally, we wanted to really take on the challenges of presence
It's weird,
and locality.
especially for a pre-recorded
Now,
video.
when we say presence, we mean the feeling that you're actually there. You've entered the matrix. It's not, of course, something we thought we could perfectly achieve, but the idea was that if we stopped using just a rain sound and instead used lots of 3D audio sources for raindrops hitting the ground at all sorts of locations around you, then at some point your brain would take a leap and you'd begin to have this feeling of real presence inside the virtual world of the game. This has the capacity to affect your appreciation of the game, just like music in a game does. The concept of locality is simpler. It's just your sense of where the audio is coming from, to the right of you, behind you, above you. This can immerse you further in the game, and it can also directly enhance the gameplay. To use Dead Space as an example, I know, old school, you're fighting enemies in fairly dark, spooky locations. Back in the day, if you played the game using the TV speakers, you could tell that there was one last enemy growling and hunting you down, but it was difficult to tell quite where that enemy was. With headphones, you could tell that the enemy was somewhere on the right, which let you deduce, if you couldn't see it, that it must be somewhere behind and to your right. But with 3D audio with good locality, the idea is you know the enemy is precisely there, and you turn and you take it out. So, how do we know where a sound is coming from in the first place? Well, all those bumps and folds in the ear have a meaning, evolutionarily speaking. Based on what direction the sound is coming from, sound waves bounce around inside the ear, there's some constructive and destructive interference, and the result is a change in volume. The phase of the sound also shifts, depending on what path the sound wave took to reach the ear canal. These volume changes and phase shifts are different for each direction and also vary depending on the frequency of the sound. Head size and head shape also impact the sound in a similar fashion. The way that the sound changes, based on direction and frequency, can be encoded in a table called the Head-Related Transfer Function, or
We're going
HRTF.
deep, boys.
Here's part of one. The vertical axis is the frequency. The horizontal axis is the direction, front, back, left, right, and the color gives the degree of attenuation of the sound at that frequency. The HRTF is as unique to an individual as a fingerprint is. In fact, you're looking at mine right now. Here's how we measure an HRTF. We've taken hundreds of people through this process. We put a microphone in the subject's left and right ear canals, and then sit the subject down in the middle of an array of 22 speakers. We then play an audio sweep from each speaker as we rotate the subject. In the course of 10 or 20 minutes, we're able to sample the HRTF at over 1,000 locations. Using an HRTF when rendering audio creates unparalleled quality, but it's computationally expensive. The simplest way to use an HRTF is to process a sound source to make it appear as if it's coming from one of those 1,000 locations we sample. Unfortunately, the processing has to be done in frequency domain rather than time domain, so there's multiple fast Fourier transforms needed for every sound source for every audio tick. That's a lot of multiplies.
Exactly like that.
This computational complexity was the determining factor for our strategy. It meant we had to bite the bullet and design and build a custom hardware unit for 3D audio. Collectively, we're referring to the hardware unit and the proprietary algorithms we run on it as Tempest 3D Audio Tech. The meaning of 3D audio and technology should be pretty obvious here. As for Tempest, I feel it really reflects our goals with audio. It suggests a certain intensity of experience and also hints at your presence within it. We're calling the hardware unit that we built the Tempest engine. It's based on AMD's GPU technology. We modified a compute unit in such a way as to make it very close to the SPUs in PlayStation 3. Remember when I said that they were ideal for audio? So the Tempest engine has no caches, just like an SPU. All data access is via DMA, just like an SPU. Our target was that it would have more power than a CPU, thanks to the parallelism that a GPU can achieve, and that it would be more efficient than our GPU, thanks to the SPU-like architecture. The goal being to make possible near 100% utilization of the CU's vector units. Where we ended up is a unit with roughly the same SIMD power and bandwidth as all 8 Jaguar cores in the PlayStation 4 combined. If we were to use the same algorithms as PSVR, that's enough for something like 5,000 sound sources. But of course, we want to use more complex algorithms, and we don't need anything like that number of sounds. It would have been wonderful if a simpler strategy, such as using Dolby Atmos peripherals, could have achieved our goals, but we wanted 3D audio for all, not just those with licensed soundbars or the like. Also, we wanted many hundreds of sound sources, not just the 32 that Atmos supports. And finally, we wanted to be able to throw an overwhelming amount of processing power at the problem, and it wasn't clear what any peripheral might have inside of it. In fact, with the Tempest engine, we've even got enough power that we can allocate some to the games, to the extent that games want to make use of convolution reverb and other algorithms that are either computationally expensive or need high bandwidth. But the primary purpose of the Tempest engine remains 3D audio. Now, 3D audio is a major academic research topic. It's safe to say that no one in the world has all of the answers. And the set of algorithms that has to be invented, tuned, or implemented to realize our vision for 3D audio is immense. For example, use of HRTFs in games is quite complex. Before, I talked about making a sound source appear as if it's coming from one of those 1,000 HRTF sample locations. But for high-quality 3D game audio, we have to handle other possibilities. The sound source might not be at one of the 1,000 HRTF sample locations, so we have to blend the HRTF data from the closest locations that we have sampled. The sound source might be moving, which needs very special handling as that blend keeps changing, and that can cause phase artifacts in the resulting audio. Or the sound source might have a size to it, meaning it should feel as if it's coming from an area rather than a single point. There's also whole categories of approaches to be handled. 3D audio can be implemented using individual processing of 3D sound sources. But alternatively, ambisonics can be used for 3D audio. Ambisonics being somewhat like the spherical harmonics used in computer graphics. And finally, there's audio devices. The player might be using headphones or TV speakers or have a higher-end surround sound setup with 6 or more speakers, all of which need different approaches. That's a lot of variations. It's nice to have the computational resources of the Tempest engine, but it's clear that achieving our ultimate goals with 3D audio is going to be a multi-year, step-by-step process. Having said that, headphone audio implementation is largely complete at this time. It was a natural place for us to start. With headphones, we control exactly what each ear hears, and therefore the algorithmic development and implementation are more straightforward. For TV speakers and stereo speakers, we're in the process of implementing virtual surround sound. The idea being in the TV, then the sound can be made to feel as if it's coming from any direction, even behind you. Virtual surround sound has a lot in common with 3D audio on headphones, but it's more complex because the left ear can hear the right speaker and vice versa. We have a basic implementation of virtual surround sound up and running. We're now looking at increasing the size of that sweet spot, which is to say, making the area you need to be in to feel the 3D effect larger, and we're also working to boost the sense of locality. Headphone audio is the current gold standard for 3D audio on PlayStation 5, but we're going to see what we can do to bring virtual surround sound to a similar level, after which we'll start in on setups with more speakers, such as 6-channel surround sound. It's now to the point where some of the PlayStation 5 games in development are extensively using these systems. One of the game demos allows you to toggle between conventional PlayStation 4 style stereo audio and our new 3D audio. I listened with just an ordinary pair of over-the-ear headphones, and wow, I could feel a difference. 3D audio has that dimensional feel to it. Conventional stereo audio feels smashed flat by comparison.
Smashed flat.
The improvement is obvious. So, a big advancement, but have I entered the matrix? Does my brain believe I'm really there, like I was talking about earlier when I explained our target of presence? Well, the answer is no, but you've probably caught on to what's missing here, namely whose HRTF was being used. It wasn't mine, it was the default HRTF. The audio team analyzed the hundreds that they measured and chose the one they felt was the closest fit to the total game-playing audience. This shows a piece of the default HRTF on the left and my HRTF on the right. You can see that the general features are much the same, but the details are quite different. With the default HRTF, as I said, the 3D audio sounds pretty great. When I use my HRTF, though, the audio reaches a higher level of realism, which is to say that when using headphones and my HRTF, I occasionally get fooled and even think a sound is coming from the real world when it's actually coming from the game. A corollary to this is that there are a few people whose HRTFs are sufficiently far from the default HRTF, that's the red dot here, that they can toggle between PS4 style and PS5 style audio and not sense much difference. I've had a few people describe the PlayStation 5's 3D audio as sounding like a bit better stereo audio. Presumably they're the ones at the very edges of this diagram. Which means what HRTF you're using is key. I'd like everyone to be able to experience what I'm experiencing, but obviously it's not possible to measure the HRTF of every PlayStation user. That means HRTF selection and synthesis are going to be big topics going forward as the Tempest technology matures. At PlayStation 5 launch, we'll be offering a choice of 5 HRTFs. There's a simple test where you pick the one that gives you the best locality. That's just the first step, though. This is an open-ended research topic. Maybe you'll be sending us a photo of your ear, and we'll choose a neural network to pick the closest HRTF in your library. Maybe you'll be sending us a video of your ears and your head, and we'll make a 3D model of them and synthesize the HRTF. Maybe you'll play an audio game to tune your HRTF. We'll be subtly changing it as you play and home in on the HRTF that gives you the highest score, meaning that it matches you the best. This is a journey we'll all be taking together over the next few years. Ultimately, we're committing to enabling everyone to experience that next level of realism. Hopefully, I've been able to illustrate a bit about our design and decision-making process today and why PlayStation 5 has the feature set that it does. Now comes the fun part. We get to see how the development community takes advantage of that feature set. I'm hoping for the completely unexpected. Will it come from audio, ray tracing, the capabilities of the SSD, or something else? I guess we'll find out soon enough. Thank you
Mark.
For your time.
Mark? Okay, everybody, I'm going to start being loud, so turn your headphones down, okay? Because he was really quiet, so I'm going to get louder now, okay?
Got your warning.
You have your headphone warning. I'm going to get loud in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What the hell? No games. No price. No looky-loo. I'm okay with the fact that it was a technical demo, right? That's obviously, they said that's what it was going to be. They announced that it was a deep dive into the architecture. No problems there. It's a thing. We got what we were promised. But you showed Jak 2. Out of all of the games you could have shown Jak 2 and you give us no Jak 4 announcement? What is this? Who are you? Why would you do this to us? Okay, so let's go ahead, Catlin, if you could put my laptop on the screen. There are a few things about the PS5 that are better than the Xbox Series X. So, namely, the one is that it has 16 gigabytes of GDDR6, all running at high speed. So there's no 10 fast, 6 slow, and 3.5 reserved. Mark specifically talked about games being able to utilize all 16. So that's number one, faster. Number two, faster is, holy frick, look at this SSD speed. We don't even have this on PC yet. 5.5 gigabytes per second on the SSD speed, and then it freaking has 8 to 9 gigabytes on compression. The raw speed of the PS5 SSD is faster than the compressed one on the Xbox.
That's ridiculous.
Sony destroys Microsoft in this. Flat. The raw speed is insane, and the fact that you can install your own M.2 SSDs is going to be crazy. However, so one of the things that I think we really need to take into consideration is that even though the Xbox, the PlayStation 5's piece, or you can swap, Catlin, sorry, my brain's, even though the PlayStation 5's teraflop count is 10.2, they're getting that by more by more engineering. So they're having variable frequency. Microsoft doesn't have that. This thing is going to be quieter. It's going to have less power in non-intensive scenarios, which Microsoft just has a flat frequency. And then on top of that, we have to consider the fact that Sony spent a lot of their engineering into that SSD. Being double the speed of the freaking of the Microsoft SSD makes it so that they're probably going to be pretty close in price.
My thing is, like, what's one of the main upgrades you can do to your PC besides the graphics card?
It's the SSD.
Yes. They doubled down so heavily on that.
It's crazy.
That is so fast. Just seeing those speeds and then seeing the compressed speeds after that, I was like thinking, oh, they're doing 5. They're not saying if it's compressed or not. That is the raw speed.
Yes.
That is ridiculous.
That is crazy fast. That is faster than every known consumer PCI Express 4.0 that I'm aware of right now. Most of them cap out at 5. So I think the PS5 is a huge win. Obviously, Sony has way better exclusives than Microsoft does. Being able to implement all of this into their games, I mean, we're going to have to wait another 10 years for Final Fantasy Remake Part 2. So there's that.
Although,
yes,
does this not leave an opening for a PS5 Pro eventually?
Yes, it absolutely does. It does. Adding more compute units, giving it a beefier tower, more cooling, being able to get a PS5 Pro. The Xbox Series X seems to be Microsoft's flagship, unless they're going to have the Xbox Series XXX or something like that. Game-wise, Sony wins this. They have better titles as far as I'm aware. I mean, Microsoft doesn't really have anything that I'm excited about coming out soon. Maybe Hellblade's Senua's Saga. That's the only one we're aware of. But then they're comparable enough in performance on the GPU that having a faster SSD speed and better RAM for accessibility might make the difference in the actual gameplay feel as opposed to the raw GPU speed. Ace Take says that he feels like $420.69 would be a good price. Angablade says, milk. Hello, my friends. Angablade, how are you doing, my friend? A 900 gigabyte, 5.5 gigabyte SSD alone would cost $200 to $300. So the price will probably be like $999. I don't think so. I think we could probably say $600 to $750. I'm still okay with that price region. I don't think we're going to get much more expensive than that. And the fact that both So the PS5 is getting 10.2 teraflops out of 36 compute units. Can we talk about how amazing that is? 2.2 gigahertz is what they're running the RDNA 2 GPU at. What is the AMD PC GPU going to be like?
Yeah.
Our landscape for GPUs on the PC are going to completely change over the next few months if this is what AMD has up their sleeve. 36 compute units at 10 teraflops with ray tracing built in. That is good stuff from AMD.
I'm pretty excited to see. I want to see also in raw games how the two compare. Like everything from load times to frame rates to just general playability. I want to see how the two compare. Now, even more so than before.
Yeah. It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. Both of them are going to be good.
36 compute units is very disappointing. Running at 2.25 gigahertz though, is it really? Is it really? They're able to hit nearly, so they're what, 20% off of Microsoft with 70% of the amount of compute units. They've done some really good engineering here. Does AMD work with G-Sync yet? NVIDIA has opened up G-Sync for it to be available for variable refresh rate.
Shut up and take my toilet paper.
They didn't say how many ROPS it was, as far as I'm aware.
I see a lot of people being disappointed at the 10.3, but I feel like this is going to be way more than just straight like teraflop performance.
Yeah.
Playing into the actual playability of things.
Yes, agreed. I've never once considered buying an Xbox One X just because it has more teraflops than my PS4 Pro.
Exactly.
Never once. I think this actually might be a byproduct of PC Master Race. We compare everything based on specs because that's how you know if one PC is better than the other.
Yes.
But consoles, it's a different game. It's about the gameplay experience. It's about the other features that it might have. It's about the entire package because it's exclusively for playing video games. So you have to determine it based on the video gameplay experience, not on the specs. The specs are actually kind of irrelevant because look at how many people are enjoying the Nintendo Switch and it has specs of something that came out many years ago. But people are still buying it because Zelda Breath of the Wild is something that people thoroughly enjoy. People are still playing that on the Wii freaking U. So the specs in a console generation are only a part of the story, and I think that's what we're seeing with PS5. Sony's talking about way more than just the raw power that they're fitting into things. They're talking about 3D audio engineering that's gone into everything. They're talking about optimizing the SSD to the point that Microsoft looks like they only thought about the SSD in 2019 before AMD came out with PCI Express 4.0, and then they were like, oh yeah, I guess we could update it, whereas Sony was like, we're going to build everything based on this. So as far as like game loading times, that's going to be faster on the PlayStation 5.
Yes.
Not because it has more teraflops, but because the SSD by de facto is going to be way faster than the Series X. So the boot times in video games, the reload times of maps, everything's going to be faster on the PS5 because they built a more comprehensive experience, whereas it seems like Microsoft is going for a completely different strategy.
Microsoft, they doubled down also on the fact that they'll have the like game pause and resume thing that we can switch between games really fast. So I'm wondering if Sony will have something comparable to that, or if the games are just going to boot that fast.
I think that's basically what. So they have more ability to put more into the SSD itself.
Yes.
And then they also have more RAM. They have more RAM to put everything
At
into.
full
Yes,
bandwidth.
they have full capacity, 16 gigabytes. Everything runs. I think it was at 448 gigabytes per second. Microsoft came out with 10 that work at half a terabyte and 6 that work at a third of a terabyte. Whereas everything on Sony's is 44% of a terabyte, which is fast. It's fast. PC gaming created the PS5. You're absolutely right. Don't let Mark Cerny confuse you because he was talking about how their partnership made PC gaming good.
Yeah.
Rude.
He had such a sultry voice, though. In the wrong context, his voice can put me to sleep, though. I was just really amped for what he was going to actually give us, what info. Oh,
Twitch Prime sub for Porky Pig. Thank you so much. Teraflops is not everything when we're talking about the same architecture, same generation on a dedicated console. Okay, we can talk about this. Let's go to the mobile phone market. Some phones have 120 hertz refresh rates. Let's talk about a couple phones that have 90 hertz refresh rates. Some phones feel better at the same refresh rate because of everything else that's been baked into the experience. The UI is considered, the animations are considered, the processing allocation to the display. Those are all considered when everybody controls everything. So a phone that might have the exact same specs feels like a worse piece of crap because of the integrated experience. It's not just about the specs when we're talking about things that are dedicated to a specific purpose. Specificity changes the conversation. PC is not specific. We're a very broad category. We have to talk about working with first gen i5s as well as the latest gen Ryzen 9. So when you have that much range, we have to talk about many different factors, and the easiest way to do that is be as general as possible with the amount of specs that we're comparing. But we can't do that when we're talking about things that are dedicated to a gameplay experience. Sony seems to be focusing more on the overall gaming experience than I think Microsoft is, based on their announcements today. And for anybody who is now joining us, if you guys want to watch us live over on Twitch, you can do so at the link in the video description. Appreciate having you guys over here. How many game installs will the SSDs take before dying? So they did talk about that a little bit, but they didn't give a timeline. They just talked about the fact that they're aware that the demand on the SSD will be pretty high. So we'll have to see. Marcus2727 with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much. Hi from Canada. What's up, my friend?
What is up?
When is this next Sony presentation, or is that it? That was it for now. So he did mention that games will be discussed in the future. He did mention that there will be more coming in the future, but that was it for the deep dive on the architecture. He showed off Jack 2. I will riot in the streets if we do not get a Jack 4. Okay? You cannot use that when showing off your architecture and then not get me to expect that you're going to showcase this at the latest gen. That would be so freaking amazing. Jack 4? Yes.
Can't get my hopes up like that.
Yep. External SSD usage is cool, but that's something that Sony has done better than Microsoft since the beginning. Try to go upgrade your internal drive on an Xbox.
Yeah.
You have to get a specific one. You have to make sure it's super compatible. You have to check the specs and everything before you go do that. With Sony, guess what? You want to install an SSD? Go pick up an 860 Evo off of the Best Buy shelf, slot it in, put the operating system on it, bam, you're good to go. You can't do that with Microsoft. And what we're seeing is that Sony's still committed with that. If you want Microsoft to expand your storage, you have to get the proprietary little card thing. Sony is saying any M.2 SSD that's fast enough, that's what we'll take. Ivan D with the $5 donation says, think about it like a race. Xbox's V8 high horsepower ramps up to speed. Sony is like an electric instant torque to speed up. Similar, yeah. Like it's how are we basing everything? A Tesla Model 3 performance model doesn't have as much horsepower as a Lamborghini, but guess what? In a street race, if you're going, let's say 600 feet, the Tesla Model 3 will win because of its instant torque. It's all about how are you defining the parameters of everything, and based on the parameters that I care about, PlayStation 5 looks happy to me. We got more Twitch Prime subs, Swollen Crit, then we got Quagor and Matt the Tech LV. Thank you guys so much for the Twitch Prime subs. They mean a lot. Spam those emotes, my friends. The SSD and memory have a special custom storage processor, just as per the Pastebin leaks. Yeah, so Sony did a lot of custom design to make sure that everything's working together properly. Who races the 600 feet? Yeah, that was... okay, you just do it 0 to 60. Or 0 to 60 on the real road. Technically, one spec is faster, but when you're talking about actually gripping the road, people driving a Lambo aren't actually able to get it most of the time to maintain its traction. So... ooh, look at them emotes.
Yeah, you. Spam them emotes, it's a rite of passage.
I wonder what happens if you put a cheap M.2 SSD on the PS5 though. Would it even work? It probably would work, but you could only use it for like PS4 games.
Yeah.
It'll probably, if I had to guess, they would have something that comes up in the OS and says an unsupported low speed SSD has been installed. You can only install PS4 games on this. Something like that. Will the PS5 match the 60 FPS at 4K claim of the Xbox? Easily. Yeah. I mean, the PS4 Pro technically can do 4K just the same way that the Xbox can. The Xbox is more powerful and it can do it better, but the PS5 or the PS4 Pro has enough raw horsepower to do the checkerboarding. So it exists. It probably won't be the best, but I mean, if you absolutely must have the best horsepower, then go with the Xbox. But if we're talking about gaming experience, you want the faster load times, you want the better single-player game experiences. Sony seems to be good. Muck Reimer says, it's about the games. When will people understand that? Never, especially not in the PC Master Race, because we don't care about the games, we care about the specs. Gosh dang it, you need to be on PC. I don't care what games you're trying to play. Oh, you want to play God of War? Too bad. That doesn't exist for PC yet, so it doesn't actually exist.
It's not a good game if it's not on PC.
Correct. Scooby622 with Twitch Prime sub. Love you guys. Love you too, Scooby.
Thank you.
Nesverbus with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much, my friend. I will be right back.
Go for it.
You talk about how happy you are.
I'm pretty happy. I'm more happy now than what I thought, especially with the previous leaks coming in at like 9.2, was it? So
yeah,
they're giving me a little bit of hope there. Anything over 10 and I'm happy, basically. That's coming from a dude who never bought into the Xbox One X being the superior console simply because it had a few more teraflops.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are that way minded. I mean, good for you. But for me, the PlayStation was where I was enjoying my gameplay. And upgrading to the Pro was a nice little spec bump. It didn't change the world for me.
Yeah.
It was nice, but it wasn't groundbreaking or anything. I just enjoyed the PS4 like system as a whole. It was enough for me, but that's...
Green Meanie with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You do know it's still 9.2 teraflops. Those boost clocks aren't sustainable. They said that they were. So you can say that they're not, but they said that they were. So, and it like, oh, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub, Mage Nick. So one of the things that like we like to do is speculate about things that don't yet exist. Everybody's talking about what the Xbox can do, what the PlayStation can do, when the architecture is not out yet. It's an unknown. We have no idea how RDNA 2 behaves. We have no idea how power efficient it actually practically is. And we have no idea what the custom cooling solution of the PS5 actually looks like. So how do we know that it can't maintain those throughout the entire gameplay? Because Mark Cerny, at least according to what he was saying, made it seem like they absolutely can. It's just going to come at the cost of noise. So game developers have to figure out, is it going to be something that they're ready to sacrifice? Do they want the utmost power of the console, or are they willing to scale back to get it in that sweet spot where you balance fan noise and performance? That's up to the game developers, which is a good thing. It's a good thing that they can actually do variable clocks, because that means that we can have more like variable experience.
It is RDNA 2 as well.
Yes.
Some people saying it's not.
They confirmed it was RDNA 2. Sony said it was RDNA 2. Everything about the leaks that were big recently were wrong. People were saying it was still 52 compute units at 1.6 gigahertz. It's not. It's 36 compute units at 2.25 gigahertz, which is not at all what was specified in the leaks. We just got 100 bits from Scooby. Thank you so much, Scooby Dooby Doo. And for anybody who's saying, what do we care about power efficiency and noise? Be me, okay, for a second. Get an original PS4 Pro on launch day, right? Enjoy it for a little while. You play Final Fantasy 15 when that comes out. You play Horizon Zero Dawn when that comes out. Then you get God of War, okay? Game that comes out several years later. They say, hey, we're going to use everything. Do you know what your PlayStation sounds like? You have to use headphones. It was insanely loud. Reese came into the room where I was playing the game and he said,
something's wrong with your PlayStation.
Because the power efficiency just wasn't there. The cooler wasn't very good. The original PS4 Pro was super loud. And so it actually does matter when we're talking about a console that belongs in a living room environment that other people are typically using that general space. You don't want something that's going to be overbearing. It makes a lot of sense. I'll just water cool my PS5. That would be great. It does look like water cooling is going to be a bit harder on the Xbox just because of how they've designed the chassis, but anybody who's water cooling a console doesn't really care about what things are supposed to be like.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, we just got Dream Crusher Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much, Dream Crusher. It means a lot. full PS4 backwards compatibility at the PS5 reveal. That is true. However, they said that they expect 100 games to be available, which is kind of low. It could just be a low figure, and he was saying 100 of the best games, but everything else is supported. It's kind of weird. Matt the Tech said $5. What's up with the UFD Deals channel being taken over by a human malware ticker channel? It's fixed. It's not happening anymore. Don't worry. The back end's irrelevant. It's solved. These consoles might release for $500. Meanwhile, NVIDIA will release a mid-range GPU alone, the RTX 3070, for the same price, which will only be slightly more powerful. It's possible, or NVIDIA and AMD's next gen is going to be better than we're thinking. That's that. If consoles are this good, how good are the actual PC stuff? Because right now, consoles are as good as high-end PCs, which is not something that we're used to. PS4 Pro and Xbox One, they launched at AMD's mid-range. If you got a Vega 56, you were faster than the consoles. Yeah. Now, you get these consoles, you're faster than a 5700 XT.
Which some people upgraded to recently. Yeah. It's not...
It's weird.
Like it's been around for all that long yet.
Serious question, guys. 3080 Ti or the upcoming RDNA 2 GPU? We don't know. We don't know. If I had to guess, the 3080 Ti. I think NVIDIA has more in their wheelhouse than AMD does. But if this is what the AMD side is, I'm looking forward to a 3080 Ti. Absolutely. If PS5 is rumored to be backward compatible, is Sony killing the PS4 market? It's not rumored. They absolutely confirmed it was. And no, it doesn't kill your PS4 market. It only enhances it. It means that I can go ahead and buy a PS4 right now and get the games on the PS4 that are coming out. Last of Us 2, Final Fantasy 7. There are still games to be released in between now and when the PS5 comes out. Yeah. I can either, one, choose to buy a PlayStation now and enjoy those games knowing that I'll be able to play them on my PS5, or two, know that I'm going to be able to play them on my PS5, so I'm more anticipated for it. You'll be able to buy the PS4 games. It's a good idea. I just used 4 Radeon 7s in iFinity on a quadrant display. I'm rocking those pixels. 4K is chump. Pathetic. You guys are pathetic with your 4K. It's disgusting.
Disgusting.
The 5950 XT might be a 2080 or 2080 Ti killer. That's what I would guess, but we don't know. Because the 5950 XT is supposed to be big Navi. What we're seeing from the PS5, let's consider this for a second. PS5, 10.2 teraflops was it? 10.5? Somewhere in there. It's over 10 teraflops. I think it's 10.2. That's medium Navi. 36 compute units. Yeah. That's medium. The medium Navi is better than the 5700 XT on RDNA 2. That's going to be fast.
That's fast.
Angablade says that he just picked up a Hot News mug. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And my water's all gone. I can't drink it no more.
I was pretending to drink. I'm out of water too.
You guys know which card will stomp the 2080 Ti? The RTX 3080 in a few months. That might not be true.
Really?
Well, the 1080 Ti, the 2080 didn't stomp the 1080 Ti.
That's fair.
Might not be true. You still need to change the date on the calendar behind you. Wrong. Wrong. That is the right date. That date will remain.
That's a special date.
March 9th. It's a good day. We just got another Twitch Prime sub. And then Queen just gave us a dono. Thank you so much. Coming soon. Yeah, we're all waiting, anticipating the release. What is the PS5 announcement? You missed it. It happened a little while ago. What year, though? This year. March 9th this year. Next year it'd be March 10th. It was a pre-recorded stream. Yes, absolutely. We're in Mexico right now. Do you remember that?
No.
Linus and Luke were on workcation, or LMG was on a workcation in Mexico.
Yeah.
And they pre-recorded a WAN show.
Oh.
And tried to fake being live by pretending they were reading chat.
Oh. Well then.
And so everybody was saying, is this pre-recorded now? That's a meme. Just so you know.
I get it.
I can't believe we didn't get a picture. It is a little disappointing, but again, It's not like Sony was dishonest about it. They said that this would be a deep dive into the architecture, which is what we got. We got a deep dive into the architecture. We know more about it. It's good.
I wish I knew what it looked like though.
Goodbye, Angablade. Have a
Bye.
good day at work. Enjoy work while you can, or maybe you're recession-proof.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Glad to support. It means a lot. Your Twitch Prime subs in these trying days mean a ton. Because it costs you nothing, so we don't feel bad from taking from you. And then it gives us money so that we can continue to move on. Cognito!
Hey.
Thanks for the Twitch Prime sub. Wish I could go to work. Yeah, it sucks. Which GPU in the current market do you think is equivalent to the PS5? Nothing by AMD and a 2080 Super by NVIDIA. Thank you everybody for the follows on Twitch. 10.3 teraflops. I have no work, so you're the only sub I have now. Thanks too much, J-Pop. What happened to your business? I'm just curious. Like, everything's going around. Everybody's losing out. Like, what's going on? Oh,
Hope
no
you guys
one with
good.
the Twitch Prime sub. 1991. Let's go. Prices for PS5 and Series X. What are you thinking? I'd say, if I had to guess, PS5 $600, Series X $750.
That sounds reasonable.
You're high-fiving and trading with Voldemort. Reese is part of my immediate family. I've removed him from his home country and transplanted him here. He has no friends. He has no family. He is my family
I
now.
have to do the high five.
Oh, biddies from Santa Moose. Thank you
Hey.
so much for the 140 biddies. You can have my Voldemort, Reese. Take my coronavirus.
Why, thank you. I'll treasure it.
Like, if we go on actual lockdown, Reese will be with me. So I will give him the coronavirus then, too. Wish I had a job. Supposed to be the best year ever financially. Now I have no job. Tourism industry, if you're wondering. Oh, no. Oh, that sucks, dude.
Yeah, that's a heavy hit one.
I will press Reese's F to pay respects, because that sucks.
Don't you guys have ears?
No, we don't. I'm not sending Sony a picture of my ear. What is that? That was the weirdest
creepy.
part of the announcement.
I'm just picturing him like getting a picture and it's like, oh, that's a nice ear right there.
Oh, look at that. Oh, man, you need to clean yours out. They send you an earwax kit with, like, an earwax cleaning kit with your custom HRTF?
Ah,
Or is it HTRF?
I can't even remember.
Crap. I think
Words.
it's HRTF. PS5 will have a drive twice as fast as the Xbox. Absolutely. Raw speeds and compressed speeds. It's insane. The raw speed is faster than an Xbox's compressed speed. So natively, with no optimization by the game developer, the PS5 will run faster. It's crazy.
I think raw horsepower, the Xbox wins definitely there.
Yep.
Overall system, my vote goes for the PS5.
Somebody says I shouldn't press your F. That's your F, not mine.
F.
I wore my F shirt the other day. He could be licking your ears. That would be weird. They get a picture and then somebody's into ears. They got an ear fetish.
Disgusting.
That would be the perfect person to analyze ears.
These are some good ears, right?
They said that they were going to use a neural net, so I doubt anybody's actually going to be looking at
that
it.
neural net is gonna love ears so much.
IT admin here, insane the amount of work I have had upgrading clients' networking infrastructure this past week. I can imagine with everybody trying to do remote work from home, having to access servers at work. That's going to be crazy, and especially with schools as well. So the state of Florida announced that all schools have to be closed till April 15th. And so we got an email from the principal at our boys' school saying that they're going to start remote learning after spring break's over.
Everyone has to like create a new functioning system.
Yep.
While trying to maintain a sense of normalcy.
Yeah. What's going on right now is unprecedented weird. Only 800 gigabytes of storage. So if I had to... Yowza!
What the heck was that?
That was the ladder moving down. So if I had to imagine, 825 is the usable space. That's a really weird number for them to try to sell. They're probably going to say it's a 1 terabyte drive, but because of the architecture, they were saying it's 825 usable, which will likely be roughly the same on the Xbox. If you have a 1 terabyte drive, you don't have 1 terabyte of usable storage. Linus clickbaited all of us when he said he has a petabyte drive. You have a petabyte of raw storage. Raw storage don't count.
Yeah, a lot
Still
of
a cool
people
video.
typically forget that. I think Sony could have made that a bit clearer. They could have said, this is a 1 terabyte drive with this amount of usable storage.
Setting up corporate VPNs. Nice.
Nice.
Are you going to show us the proper path to have a PC that can run Xbox games? Just go to the Microsoft store. If you go to the Windows Store on your PC, you'll be able to get the games. It's really not hard at all.
Apparently, some people are having issues with the Windows Store.
The Windows Store sucks. That's why.
I don't have much experience with
So. I know what the right step is. You can follow all the right steps, and it still sucks because when Microsoft doesn't have a good launcher.
Hectic.
As an English as a second language teacher in Italy, I can confirm that e-learning is a crap show right now. I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine. I saw a meme yesterday where it was parents being like, "How do you get your kids to sit still? They're running all over the walls. They're flushing the toilets. What do we do?" And then the teacher responds, "Well, they never acted like that in my class. What are you doing wrong?"
Oh.
How the turntables! 200 bits from Dracon Cops. Dracon Cops. I don't know how to say that. Metro Exodus suckers on Windows Live for PC. No, it's on Steam already. Twitch Prime sub from Hun. Thank you so much, my friend.
Much appreciated.
New Microsoft's games are actually pretty well optimized if you can get them installed. Do you know how difficult it is to install a game from Windows Store if your Windows isn't properly set up? And how do you know it's properly set up? You don't, so you might have to reinstall Windows because Microsoft doesn't give you enough feedback when it comes to troubleshooting and their error codes.
Oh, dang. That sounds like a poor user experience.
Yeah, no, Microsoft's Windows Store sucks. And it hasn't really gotten any better. It's a little better. It's not bad. 30% power difference this generation. And look at how little that mattered. Now the power difference next gen is only 14%. It's fine. Thank you, Shanghai Martin. That's correct. That's how I view it. It's just the power difference doesn't matter because we're talking about gameplay.
I'm excited. I'm excited either way.
Something has to come out to show that PCs can still dominate the gaming scene. They will. They will. I don't have any doubt that PC will still be the better platform when we're talking about graphical fidelity, array of options, the ability to mod. There's so many things that are going for the PC scene that can't be taken away. It doesn't seem like Sony and Microsoft are even trying to implement those things into consoles. They're focusing on locking down a gaming experience to provide the best gaming experience. However, the best gaming experience for some people is the graphical fidelity. But I will tell you, 9 times out of 10, I will choose God of War over the best looking Crysis. Because everybody talks about Crysis for how demanding it was graphically. Tell me the storyline. Some people played the Crysis for the story. It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, but it's not one of those games that sticks with you.
What stuck with me with Crysis was the opening moment where it looked super pretty.
Yeah.
I don't remember the storyline at all.
It's aliens coming to Earth and turn into a dude who is part of the alien thing. Not enough storage out of the box for next-gen games? Yes. So that's actually something that I was kind of disappointed with Mark Cerny for talking about. He mentioned, Psych Shadow, Twitch Prime, thank you so much. He mentioned the fact that they looked at current-gen games that people are mostly playing and seeing if they have enough capacity for that. Great. Current gen games mean nothing when you have a next gen console. What are the next gen consoles going to look like? 2 terabytes? They're going to have to release a 2 terabyte edition of the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And the Xbox. We're going to have to see those special editions because you will need that extra storage. I run out of 1 terabyte right now on my SSD in my PS4 Pro just by having a few popular games. I don't even have Call of Duty installed where I'm getting 100 gigs just to play Warzone. I'm talking, I just have a few 80 gigabyte games. It's terrible.
When games start coming with those 8K texture packs preloaded and stuff, it's going to be a nightmare.
8K texture packs? I'm sure it'll happen for some games. They'll be like, we have 8K. We're 8K. Yeah.
It'll be rough on your storage.
It's going to be bad.
Considering most games now will have 4K texture packs.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be rough. I'm not looking forward to even larger games next gen. Yes. Unfortunately, there's several areas in the infrastructure that hasn't been able to keep up with game development. We're talking ISPs. Both bandwidth and data caps is going to ruin everything. Blu-ray is mostly fine. You're going to be able to do that. But if you're trying to download your games, yes, great. You are running on 100 megabit line, right? But you only have, let's say, half a terabyte of data that you're allowed to use each month. You're screwed. You're not allowed to download games. You're going to have to buy physical copies. This means GameStop's going to continue to be around, and with their shady practices during the coronavirus, I'm not sure we want that. So this was something that we didn't cover in hot news because it's based on speculation right now, but there's a couple things floating out there that GameStop, even though their corporate policy is that they're providing protective equipment and disinfectant to all of their employees, that's not actually happening. They're requiring their managers to go out and personally buy all of the disinfectant because GameStop doesn't have any to supply, so they're asking the store managers to do it. And when the store managers have to pay out of pocket, it's not a good thing because they're not guaranteed jobs. And apparently on top of that, if they're turning off the in-store like demo system so that people don't touch them, they're being ordered to turn them back on by corporate. And then on top of that, if cops are coming in to shut down the store because they're breaking lockdown orders, because they're non-essential, GameStop's a non-essential service, the employee or the manager is supposed to reply, please contact our legal department, and not shut down the store.
What?
Apparently. Okay, so this is allegedly what GameStop is doing right now. Violating everything that would be reasonably sane during a pandemic and saying, we don't care. Oh, if the trade-in item that that person might be handling has coronavirus on it because they spit on it before they gave it to you, sorry, you have to accept it. I don't care if you don't have gloves. You take that physically from them and you still do the trade-in.
Yikes.
Supposedly. Allegedly is what I'm hearing. Amazon employees are revolting for warehouses being corona hotbeds. I've read that as well.
Yeah. Especially in the EU.
Yeah.
That seems to be quite happening right now.
Been watching you since you were building crypto rigs. Love you guys and all your content. Keep it up. Thanks, Psych Shadow. Much appreciated. Amazon is actually hiring right now. 100,000 employees is what they say they're going to be hiring over the next couple months.
They say it's for the increased demand of people buying
online. Which exists,
online.
yeah.
No one wants to go to the stores really if they can avoid it. So
yeah,
Amazon is getting increased orders at the moment.
It's hectic. All of this is hectic. Okay, my friends. So we're going to be ending the stream over here on YouTube. We're going to be embarking upon a new daily stream format that we're doing over on Twitch. So if you want to see what we're doing over on Twitch, be sure to go over to the Twitch link that's in the video description and come join us down. Go join us there. We're shutting down the YouTube stream as of now, so we'll give you a few seconds to migrate on over. This is the end of Hot News Live. This is the end of the PS5 announcement. We appreciate everybody who's tuned in, who's liked, who's subscribed, who's donated. Crazy Lee with the $5 donation. Thank you so much. Good job to you too, my friend. We really appreciate you guys. So migrate on over to Twitch. We're going to be doing something kind of cool. You might like it, you might not, but check it out. It's not a normal tech stream. We're not continuing with Hot News Live. We baked some goodies yesterday.
It was delicious.
Can you swap? We made set decorations based on pain. That guy is giving birth. Yeah, you can't see it. But come join us over on Twitch in case you want to. We love you guys. Goodbye, YouTube.
Bye,
can you do the Hot News Live outro? Can you try that?
If it works. Yay!
Yay!
Sweet.